people and access rights. The foundation of a sound economy is indeed justice and laws for all. It is an economy works best when there is rule of law, when there is the access to a judicial system that is clean and efficient and effective, and that reaches everybody in the country. India's big challenge today is not so much in terms of economic growth, but it is in terms of the unequal access that we have to health, which all of us saw in a broken health system during COVID. But what most of us would not acknowledge very easily, because that is an area we haven't done much work on. And that is that India's access, if India's access to healthcare is unequal, then India's access to education is even more so. Education in India is, if you quantify inequality, is far more unequal than healthcare, and that's the reason why we have this huge rural-urban and this rich and poor divide, which leaves one set of us mostly seated in this room the privilege of having access to education, and the rest of us have zero access to good education, and that makes for that big divide that leaves an elite as a permanent elite and a 2/3 of the country that remains at the margins. So given this background, today, the discussion that we want to have, and we have this fabulous group of people who have been working on this issue that has been neglected for so long, and therefore it's great that we have them with us. I would like to welcome Ashwini Kulkarni, who's founder of Pragati Abhiyan, to join us here. Ashwini. Mohit Raj, who's an Obama Fellow and founder of Project Second Chance. Nikita Sonavane, the co-founder of Criminal Justice and Police Accountability. We've been seeing some of that, Nikita, on television and Twitter at Jantar Mantar last night. And Osama Mandar, the founder of Digital Empowerment Foundation and senior fellow. We will have this discussion over the next 100 minutes or so. Going into the various aspects, starting off from what each one of them is working on and what the three of you would like to talk about. I now would like to invite Shubhashish Panigrahi. Shubhashish, who is the director of the Law for All initiative at Ashoka. To start this panel discussion off, I really begin with Shubhashish, right? Because Shubhashish, yeah, come and you take over from here on what is there. There's a chair for. Are we going to invite someone? No. All right, so handing it over to Shubhashish.
Thank you, Amit. Hi, everybody. Before we actually start the panel, we have a short film, and I've requested the DF team to show us their journey. Thank you.
Before we start the panel discussion, we have a small film to show you about DF's work. Please, if you could look at the screen.
So before we start the panel, I'd basically like to share that the Ashoka Law for All, which is also a collaborator in this event, works towards electing fellows like the social entrepreneurs that you see on the stage. And we also work together with them as they further the access to justice in their own spaces. When we think of policies, and particularly digital policy, we always see that many policies are made either to support the state or the state machinery, or those who are in power, and particularly intergenerational power that comes through caste and many other privileges. And we also see that several civil society organizations center their work around community-based research, and their work ensures that the policies are working for people. And I'd like to ask all of you how you center your work within the community, and how you take the community's input and convert that into policy interventions and how the intervention is working. What has been the impact so far? What has been the outcome? And what's your process? So I'll start with Osama and then Nikita and then Mohit and then Ashwini.
So to be very frank, when we started, we didn't know what policy is and would be and whatever. We just thought that there is a need of digital, and it could, in our case, I'm saying, in 2002, of course, we started in 2002, but there is a whole background of that, there was this understanding that there is a lot of poverty, and poverty is based on not on economic depravity, but information depravity. And we thought that access to information was very important, and that's why digital as a tool, digital as a medium. But what was very interesting is that as soon as we started work, we hit the ground from day one itself, in the sense that what is really poverty and how do we make the connectivity and so on and so forth. And in our case, the work converted into policy. So, for example, many of you must have heard of Common Service Center, which is basically the government version of rural centers, was co-written by DEF. Because of our understanding of the poverty on the ground or the access to information on the ground. But unfortunately or fortunately, we ourselves didn't follow the same principles. We got a policy, which is great contribution to the nation, but we also found that there was a lot of fault or whatever. It required better excellence or better moderation or improvisation. And we ourselves adopted those improvisation and implemented, and it became something else, but the policy got affected. Similarly, when we were doing, going on the ground, people were not knowing how to use computers and so on and so forth. So when we started doing digital literacy or information literacy, suddenly government and Intel and NASCOM, they all asked that, can we work together? And we worked together and we created National Digital Literacy Mission. By the time the mission was made by the nation and 60 crore per year or so was it started being allocated, we ourselves did not use it. Because we found that, that was more towards certification, that is more towards hardware kya hai, software kya hai, and things like that. And by that time, we graduated to know that it has to be contextual. So if I have a mobile, I don't need to know what this mobile is made of. Or what is the hardware, what is the software. I need to know how I can make payment, or how I can send message. And that is contextual literacy. So we graduated to contextual literacy. So in our case, the understanding is that the work guided the policy. Like one last slide in the film that you saw, there was this G20 thing that has happened, which is the latest. We didn't know. When G20 was being handed over to India for presidency as a routine thing, the previous G20 wrote a case study on Digital Empowerment Foundation saying that this model of last mile Wi-Fi connectivity should be adopted as a digital infrastructure format for the unconnected countries or so that we didn't know, but they adopted it as a case study for half the world who is not connected. So in our case, we didn't get established as an advocacy organization or a research organization, but our action on the ground started guiding us and converted into guiding principles and policies, and also asking questions. For example, Mark Zuckerberg first time came to India and instead went to Ataya's village, and India's village in Alwar. First time when he came, he went there. And we were supportive because he said that we wanted to connect the world. But after he went, we realized that he didn't want to connect the world. He wanted to connect people to Facebook, not the world, not the internet. So we started anti-advocating him, and one of our advocacy resulted in kicking them out of the country, which is free basics. So in this case, we did both. One was welcome, but no, you're not welcome. Because you changed the ground. Yeah.
Thank you. I remember the Save the Internet campaign and the free basics extras. Nikita, how has been it for you?
So, okay. Hi. Thank you for inviting me. And of course, really happy to be part of this conversation and learn so much more about DEF's incredible journey over the last 2 decades. We are, of course, a group of lawyers, and we did what lawyers do mostly, which is go to court. And very early on realized that going to court and the regular tariq pe tariq was not working. We were working with communities. We saw, of course, which is something that the government year on year produces almost like a template, is to tell you that there are certain communities, marginalized communities, who are overrepresented in the prisons, right? So the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBCs. And when we were going to court, of course, it was the same kind of people who we saw, entering the system, and particularly being at police stations, right? So the ones that were illegally detained, the ones that, saw being criminalized, and one such group that we began working with as lawyers are people as the demotified tribes, who were not too long ago, which is until the early 1950s, were called communal tribes. So, Paidaishi Apradhi just basically said that, these are people who are born criminals. And on a daily basis, we were, going to court as one does. As a lawyer, representing these people, being present in police thanas where they were being subjected to detention, torture, and very quickly realizing that while we were responding to individual cases, there was a pattern here, right? There was a certain kind of logic by which the police operated, and that logic was, of course, translating in the way that, certain people were ending up in the prison. But we had never really applied our mind to what is it that the police is doing on a day-to-day basis, where these communities who have been historically criminalized continue to be criminalized even as we speak in 2023. And it is to sort of uncover this logic that we began to say that we're interested in studying the police, and not just the police, it's sort of shows up like say, but in the way that it shows up on every basis, right? So, as traffic police, as theft cases, and so that's how we started looking at police data. We looked at police data. We wanted to see, make more of it. We wanted to see what is the institution's version of itself, right? So we looked at arrest records. We looked at complaints, etc., that are filed by the police. And we looked at them under the laws that we saw people being commonly prosecuted in, right? And we, in our attempt to make of this data, right? So we sort of disaggregated it by one, of course, seeing who are the people that were being arrested. And we also wanted to see what it is that these people were being arrested for, right? Obviously, common imagination, which has been very heavily by Bollywood pop culture, like the police personality is right, putting all of the bad guys. Data, we realized is that a majority of people that were incriminated for offenses like taking cards on the road, right? So gambling, individuals like Adivasi communities, tribes that made alcohol like something that they were consuming historically, which is part of their culture and livelihood. We saw a bulk of the cases were these cases. And what this data allowed us to do is, in so many ways, corroborate what people have been experiencing historically, right? So that was the sort of evidence. So we started as, someone was also saying that we started as people who were interested in learning more about the system, and then what evidence who had been criticized as a corroboration for what they had been experiencing historically, right? When we were watching the video that was being played earlier about that were the Madharis. So these are people whose traditional livelihoods have been criminalized through laws like the Wildlife Protection Act, right? And what that allowed us to do is to work with communities, document stories, not just look at, what the police itself is saying, but also to go to people and sort of document what their experiences had been of criminalization. So to give you an example, when we were studying the Wildlife Protection Act, we realized that while, of course, the common imagination is that you build a law like this to protect the big tiger or to the big cat on a daily basis. It's actually that people are charged for fishing. So what this allowed us to do, sort of research documentation allowed us to do is not just assert the rights that were being criminalized, right? And this is the way in which the advocacy work has evolved as a way of, people telling stories. Criminalization is not simply a facet of people ending up in prisons, but every aspect of people's lives and their rights and their access to space, their culture, livelihoods being impeded by this spectrum of criminalization, which is of course fueled by the institution of the police.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing so much about the work, the incredible work that you do in Madhya Pradesh, particularly also using oral storytelling,
Yes.
oral history documentation, and using litigation and many other documentation work that is really, really important. Mohit, how it has been for you? I think the practice inspired policy advocacy and policy intervention that we heard from both Osama and Nikita, I see a lot of that in your work as well. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, no, thank you and congratulations on DEF 20 years. What I can briefly talk about how and what we do, and that could actually and how it is true that organically always what you do, you realize that there's a whole policy angle to it, and when you realize that if we make a change, that's where we need to go. So we call Project Second Chance. We work in prisons. It's very similar to issue what Nikita is doing. But what we do is we realize that there are not enough. First, there's a problem that in India, it's not a very thriving social justice issue because there are not enough institutions who are working in this particular social justice issue. Second, there are not enough leaders. So what we do is we identify prisoners and ex-prisoners, and they become part of our full-time fellowship program, and they actually this change. In India, that somewhere the narrative should change from prison reforms. If you have 70% plus people who are marginalized in Indian prisons, we have 90% plus people who are economically disadvantaged, there's definitely some systemic biases going on. So who should change this? And they should be people with the problem. So our fellows basically have lived years in prisons, and now they actually are designing somewhere interventions which are changing this some scenario. And over this time, I'll give you two examples how digital outcomes. One of our fellows is basically managing the Mulaqat system. Mulaqat system in prison is when you are actually in the prison, you get a few number of hours every month where your family can visit. So a lot of families visit you, and not everybody's family visit, but majority of families visiting in prison. But it's not at all digitized. The system is, if imagine you have 6 hours where people can visit, and there are like hundreds of people coming and landing up on the door, and people get chance. So and this our fellow, his name is Anish, he was managing as an administration to do this. And once he got out and became part of the fellowship, he actually realized that there are hundreds of and experiences where side kind of transport, are visiting you and basically walking in the week, of course, and you don't get a chance to meet. So we basically proposed and I designed a for the other fellow how to digitize the system. This is the timing. I can get a slot, and I can get a slot, and I can go. Simple, but that's how our work takes you there. I'll give you another example. In Indian prisons, there's a really good judgment by one of the Supreme Court judgments. You can actually get out of the prison, you can get a if crime. It's not heinous, it's under 7 years. And there are some guidelines around it. And but what happens is there are hundreds and thousands of people inside prison who doesn't know that they can get out because of that judgment. And right now the system is not designed in a way that digitalizations happen around it. So it's basically manual. If a superintendent is conscious, if a superintendent is somebody who cares, try to find out, or if a magistrate, a judge cares of that region, they will ask superintendent to find out how many people are coming under this, and it happens manually. And we found out on average it takes you 13 to 14 months to find out who are these people, to get them out of the data. And we talking to the government justice around it. We digitize this. You know that these are the 5 parameters which are considered, and it will flag to the superintendent. These are the 35 people who are missing, who will get out of it. So usually what happens is your work takes you to this point where you realize there's a whole policy. You change the policy, you can get somebody out of it or something. And that is the start with this policy angle to it. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohit. Ashwini, when I think about your work, I always think about how access to food is a guaranteed constitutional right, because access to food is access to life, and the works that you do in terms of accessing the access to food. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. Let me first congratulate DEF for the wonderful work. We have enough divides around us, rural, poor, rich, resources, and access to resources, infrastructure. There's so many divides, so much of information asymmetry. So I applaud your work and congratulations for it. I'm happy to be here. I'll start a little differently because our work has begun a little differently. We work on MGNREGA and, like you said, right to food and these programs which are universal, which are meant for everybody in rural India. So there is a policy that we want to provide work for people who do not have work in the, especially after Kharif, all the rain-fed agriculture, small and marginal farmers. They can't live off their one season crop, obviously, and they do need work. So we see a lot of migration and distress migration, seasonal migration, and things like that. Now, so in 2005, we did come across one National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, which is based on, to a large extent, based on Maharashtra's Employment Guarantee Scheme, which was made into an act in 1977 itself. Right? So there's a policy in place, there is an act in place, this is the social legislation, there are guidelines in place, and there is a delivery mechanism in place. And yet we find that the community and the people for whom it is made doesn't get to access it. Now, is it only because in a particular block, there's a particular officer who is not for it, and that becomes the problem, and that's why it doesn't get implemented in a particular place? But that's not true. This is like having a huge, imagine a huge machinery. On your raw material side, you have the policy and the program and the act and the guidelines. But on the output side, when you want to see the complete product, you find a halfway done thing, not even halfway. Why is that? So there's something problematic in the machinery. We cannot blame the people that they are not able to access it. We cannot blame officers, especially the last mile functionaries, to say that they're not interested, they're apathetic, it's all corruption. If we think in this way, that's true, but that's very partially true. And also, it is very simplistic. There's something in the machine that needs to be corrected, that needs to be addressed. And this is where we started working. Like we have everything and yet it doesn't reach people. So what are people's experiences while trying to access these programs? These programs which are bound by an act. So government has taken a responsibility saying that we will provide this much, so much of work, so much of food, whatever. Even then it's not working. So how do we make government accountable to provide and to reach out to people? Because in any other scheme, if you see, in that sense, government is not responsible because maybe there is some program of some agriculture implements. Hundreds of people have put in applications, but the provision and the budget is meant for a dozen. So obviously some will not get it and government will just say that we didn't have the budget for it, or your papers are incomplete or whatever. So here government has a leeway to say that, look, we cannot cater to your application. But with program like MGNREJ, they cannot say that. Everybody has to get work. That's what the act says. So what is happening? Why is it not working? Let us for a moment consider that all officers want to implement this program wholeheartedly. Even then there is a problem. What is it? So we started going into the details of how this program works and where does the shoe pinch, what are the community's experiences, and community's experiences we generally have as anecdotes, as stories. And anecdotes and stories are good material for maybe a newspaper article, but it doesn't go beyond that. You cannot influence government bureaucracy or legislature to say that we need to change things because people are not able to access it, right? So here we started building evidence in terms of numbers, in terms of spread, what are the problems and how do they influence the implementation process. So it's the implementation machinery which needed to be studied in all its nuts and bolts. And then we came up with things like, look, start engaging with the government and say that, look, this needs to be changed. This government order needs to be changed. This procedure is problematic. Maybe it is good from the point of view of the bureaucracy, but not for the person who is accessing it. So what procedure needs to be changed? What rules need to be changed? What formats need to be changed? How the data collection needs to be changed? What kind of human resources are required for these kind of things? So we went into the gamut of things, or entire spectrum of implementation machinery, worked around it, and who were the best people to tell us what works? Of course, people who were trying to access it. So working with the community, not just in one or two districts, but across Maharashtra, trying to understand how things were going wrong, go over each and every government order, underline and say, this is where the shoe pinches, change this, by this. So it's not just that we're criticizing, but we are also saying these are the possible solutions and what impact such a possible solution can have. So we went into all these nitty-gritties, which are actually very boring. It can sound very boring and very tedious, but it takes a lot of time to go over all these things. And you have to be really to the last clear about what you are saying, then engage with the government. Government cannot say no. That is how we need to reach out to the government. And this is what we did for years together. We continue to do that because new government orders come, new changes happen in the program, maybe related to payment, maybe related to the type of works, maybe related to the human resources being deployed, whatever it is. You have to keep a vigil on this, keep reading it and keep bringing in changes from the community's point of view. Otherwise, the bureaucracy is good at thinking of implementation from their point of view to make it convenient for them. But we have to bring in this perspective, which is otherwise lacking in terms of implementation. So this is where we come in that middle invisible pathways from policy to actually the benefits reaching out to whom it is intended. I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumudashwini. But I have one last question because the time constraint, we might not be able to take questions. When we think of policy interventions by the civil society and how long it takes, or even leaders, right? We think of Dr. Ambedkar and think that he did many years ago. We're seeing the result partially now. It might take many, many years to even see the actual result. And tell us what the future looks like because of your work and because of the work that is replicated by other organizations and other individuals that are inspired from your work. How does the future look like?
Do you want me to say?
Yeah, please.
Okay, thanks.
And please keep it short.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so just if we go by a one-liner, then I would say that we all realize that for any policy meant for marginalized or vulnerable people, it's always a struggle to get what is meant for them. Their entitlements do not come very easily. We can walk into any shop and buy things, right? If you have the purchasing power. But similarly, benefits should be easily, smoothly accessible to people who want it, who need it, and who are ready to access it. And that smoothness in government mechanism, in government delivery of products, products and goods and services to people who are marginalized and vulnerable, I think reaching there, that journey is most important. We want to reach there, but we have to minimize the struggle at least. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, what I can say is that the movement of reimagining prisons has just started. Prisons have been, I'll talk about my work because I think prisons have been exactly like how 200 years before prisons were. Institutionally, it has not been thought in a way, and we have such a strong colonial footprint on it that it's going to take decades, and we need to put lots and lots of leaders and lots of institutions to really. But I think once we have enough leaders and enough institutions who are working in this space, then we'll get active to somewhere reimagine this institution. And once they start reimagining, the first thing they will be bound to reimagine, because the movement is led by people who live the problems, is about why these people are behind bars. So I think that's the change which I anticipate in next, I don't know, 50 years, 100 years. I don't know when it's going to happen, but that's how I envision this future. And one thing that I want to say, but once we are reimagining prisons in India, we are very conscious that before it should not be inspired from US. Because one thing, the last thing which we should do is not to have no idol when we are reimagining this. So I have views. So let's see.
Because when you also asked this question, Shubhashish, you referred to Dr. Ambedkar, and I think we see the question of criminalization as being a question of caste, right? And we're seeing, the lack of access to resources or the sort of violent dispossession of communities' access to resources. We see criminalization as a way in which that sort of disciplining has happened, and that sort of access of people, of communities who have been criminalized to these various rights has been impeded, right? And what we're trying to do with this work and what we hope to achieve is for communities to just push back against criminalization, but to assert their rights which have been this entire process of criminalization, which is of course led by the police, right? So that the work that we're doing speaks to the criminalization of communities as not simply a byproduct of what the justice system has done or what the police has done, but as something that has been very intimately tied to the project of the caste criminalization of these communities. And what we then is that this sort of assertion of the communities' rights will ultimately allow us to think about criminalization as a solution for problems and thinking about what are the sort of systems that we need to put in place to allow for the sort of equitable access to resources for various communities to happen, which is also something that the caste system has prevented these communities from doing for so long.
I don't know what to say, but I'll just take one example. When 20 years before, when we started, the whole work was digital inclusion, providing access to information. And we thought that, okay, when we started, the connectivity was 8 million in 2002. And now we have, according to the claim, 700 million. And but when we had started, it was more approach towards positive inclusion, more people. But now there is a whole aura of exclusion. So it's not only that those people who are not connected are excluded, but there is another problem is that those who are connected are suffering from misinformation, fake news, hate speech, trolling, whatever, right? So for people like us, where digital is going to be everything, platform, infrastructure, everything, we see that we are getting into a whole, aura of huge problem of constantly, working on rights issue and access issue, and also from the contextualization issue. So 20 years down the line, we see a huge amount of work ahead of us, huge amount of problem. पहले लगता था सिर्फ गांव में जाके connectivity कर दो. अब तो, wherever you go, you are suffering from mental stress of, because of the social media access. You are never away from, it doesn't matter whether I'm there at Jantar Mantar or not, but I'm stressed because I'm watching everything that is happening there. And it is there on in my mouth because of being connected. The second thing I would say is that, people working in this area of justice, I think the work is never done because there is always a new problem that keeps coming. Because we are extremely creative people that when we want justice, when we are not in government, but when we are in government, we become the problem. So it's a cyclical problem of anybody who goes into the side of administration will keep on working against you, and therefore you always have to be on your toes. So I see that our work may increase, and I will collectively, I'm saying that it will increase, but the format may change, the numbers may change, the face may change. But I think we are certainly going to have more and more problems.
Thank you so much. Everything is digital, is human, and everything that is a digital solution is a double-edged sword. It could go either way. It could be a solution for someone, but it could also create more problems for somebody who is already marginalized, right? With that, I thank you, all of you, and congratulate Osama and the DF team for helping us gather here and celebrate 20 years of DEF. The next, thank you, all of you. The next conversation is going to be with Osama, so you can be seated, and with Priya Ramani, who is also here. Priya is a noted journalist, an activist who also started the India Love Project. She used love as a tool to bring people together. Welcome, Priya. And Priya also wrote a lovely story, which is 10,000 villages that Osama went to. And that was a journey of not just Osama, but also DF to understand how access, what access would mean for all the people of India. I'll leave it to you.
So I'm here today chiefly because Osama says that ever since I wrote that column, which appeared in the Hindu, the man who traveled to 10,000 villages, which I saw outside on a screen also, people haven't stopped asking him about whether this mind-boggling number is true. And he tells them actually it's an underestimation, right? For 20 years, he's been hungry to meet people who live in the unseen corners of this country, largely because he believes that that's where India's real wisdom resides.
He's been doing this for 20 years through Digital Empowerment Foundation, which he started from his bedroom with zero capital to teach marginalized Indians to use the internet. He wants to convert their wisdom and knowledge into their livelihood, or at least help them access information, opportunity, and their rights. His first village visit, though, happened many years before he started DEF. It was Islampur in Bihar's Betia, West Champaran, right? Where he spent summer holidays at his grandfather's home. I don't need to introduce him any more than this, I think. So let's dive straight into the conversation. Tell us about that first village, Osama.
So thank you very much. I also want to say that Priya is one of those people just, take phone and calls and send that, and ask you questions where you tend to tell the stories that perhaps you have forgotten and something like that. And also ask right kind of questions. So this is a village in Champaran, of course, where Gandhi had started his satyagraha. And it was a village which was a repetitive village in the sense that we used to live in Ranchi. Ranchi, incidentally, has 3 mental asylums. One of them is the biggest in Asia. And
Summer is full of trivia such as this.
And we used to go in summer vacations to Nana's village and stay there for a couple of months at least without father. So that was a big incentive because my father was very strict, used to be very strict at that time. This village is typical village in Bihari village. Bihar's village haven't changed much. And since Nana was a engineer at that time, not many people were engineer. He had large field, land and khet and, pond and fish and everything. So, but it was not the village that was thing. It was the liberty of exploring and be on your own was the crux of the life.
Yeah.
So 2 months, there was nobody asking whether you have studied or not, whether you have homework or not, whether you have classwork or not, whether you want to come back home or not, whether you have gone to the toilet, which is part of the building or not, or whether you have gone defecated somewhere else. So, and whether you have milked your own goat or you have milked somebody else's goat, or you have fished your own pond or fished somebody else's pond, or you have, whatever, I mean, wherever you go. So we usually are always out. We used to come at night, late night and explore and all that. So that was the village. But a few memories that lasted was that innovation kind of thing, like how you can fish in flood. You can really fish in flood just by blocking the way. All the fish will jump and you can go for dinner. Or something like if you are milking a goat and you want to have a curd, you can have it in 10 minutes because there used to be a leaf. You put it on the curd and it will become on the milk and then it will become curd in 10 minutes. So it was also freedom of exploration, freedom of access to education, freedom to be on your own was the thing that lasted very long. And I think after many years, I think when DF started, perhaps I got my childhood back.
That's brilliant. So freedom and innovation were the first 2 things you associated with going to the village. And tell us about this 10,000 number.
So like I was always somehow, I don't know, it is inbuilt. When I am in cities and when I am in corporate offices, I feel suffocated. And it is proven. I didn't know. So when I used to go home and be there for a couple of weeks, Shefali my wife will always tell that I think you need to travel. And I said, why? You are becoming irritable, at home. So I again choose a village to go and all that. And the reason why these things, I mean, not that before that I was not traveling, but the traveling was very high because all the time my mind was working is that we have to provide connectivity to the people who have got knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah.
And I had this inbuilt that the real knowledge and wisdom is not in towns and cities, but it is in the villages. But it is not respected. This is also because when I was running my own company, when I was in HT and other places, I used to travel with Professor Anil Gupta for his Shodh Yatra. So I used to find that, there is a lot of wisdom in villages and all that, whether it's soil or agriculture or anything that you see, everything comes from there. So the real wisdom is there, but the money is not there. And that made me to, keep on traveling. And when children were growing, we always make sure that we don't go to cities, we go to villages. So we always used to go villages and explore and come back with ke acha ab yahan center lagana hai, yahan connectivity karni hai, and things like that. And it started getting multiplied, more and more multiplied. So the journey of Insight found a reason to work for the wisdom so that they get connected to the people who are the consumer. That was actually
Talking of consumer, I remember you told me that the India story, I mean, you basically turned the India story on its head, that like Indians are not just consumers. Talk a bit about that. Like everybody sees Indians as a large market who will buy their things.
Yeah, and we all hear from the world America starts, you always think that India is one of the largest consumer market. The whole capitalism and is also like finding more and more consumer. So consumer is very much like, I want you to use my product. Right. And somehow that wisdom came to me that if my poor people and the village people are going to be consumer, who will use their product? Therefore, they will remain poor. Right. And I'm also seeing that Pepsis of the world and the Cokes of the world and all these packets of the world is reaching to the rural, but somehow their best product is not reaching the river side, and that is when I realized that when we do connectivity, we don't want them to be the consumer of internet to consume somebody else's information, but I wanted internet to have their information and the rest of the world use it. That was the original idea. And about 15 years back, I said that 250,000 panchayats should have a website. We have 28 official languages and 781, oral language should have its own thing. We have, 750,000 villages should have their website. And we realize that we are not creating information for the rest of the world to become our consumer, but we are only looking for, so information producers are others. That's
so
what we
was
realized.
One of the early experiments that you did in this field that worked?
So we started, Sachin Pilot was my first experiment. I told him that, can we make a parliamentary constituency as a website? And he agreed, and we traveled and we converted and we wrote a letter to parliamentary constituency that elected members, all the elected members constituency should have a website. Then we also created another project called Digital Panchayat, and we went to the Ministry of Rural Development and NIC, National Informatics Center, that every panchayat should have a website. And they agreed, but they said, no, we need data from the panchayat, what they're doing, how they're spending the money is the idea. But I said, no, but that is not the idea. The idea is that every elected member should have a local area website to project themselves. So they become a marketplace, they become accountability also. But somehow it didn't happen. They didn't hear, because bureaucrats make the policy where they don't want to be accountable, or for that matter, even the lawmakers. But it didn't go many places. But I also realized is that when you create a link, like road, infrastructure, or anything, I think people naturally first become a consumer and then become a producer. So we are now seeing that we are becoming producer of information, but perhaps, उससे पहले हम किसी और का message forward कर देते हैं आजकल, rather than producing our own information.
In an age where the internet is being weaponized by almost everyone, I think it's amazing. I mean, I'm really a huge fan of the work that you do. What parts of India do you love traveling to the most?
I've traveled Rajasthan the maximum.
Yeah.
And I don't know, वहाँ पे flat ज़मीन बहुत दिखता है तो लगता है कि आसमान तक देख रहे हैं, you know. So that's why I think perhaps I like. And at that time the roads were very good.
Wide open skies, as my husband says.
Yes, yes, you see a lot maybe, but we have covered Rajasthan a lot. But now I think most of the places we have covered, except three estates in Northeast. Northeast is the latest fad now. We are going. Bihar is one of the poorest, but somehow I belong to that place, but somehow I find it very difficult to go back again and again to work. Also, I feel receptivity of work in rural areas. I think Rajasthan is very receptive. Madhya Pradesh is also very receptive. Bihar is receptive, but it has its own ecosystem of inertia. It doesn't really help.
Osama, you told me then that being a successful entrepreneur is also about your life decisions, how you follow your beliefs and convictions, and what leaps of faith you take. Can you elaborate on that? What leaps of faith have you taken?
So, I suffered a long time, for leap of faith. And for example, I don't know how many people know I took 8 years to graduate. I joined Air Force and left. And so everywhere, because I realized that most of the time, the thing that was meant for me was not happening and I was not getting suited to that place. And I don't know when it started happening, maybe at a time between 4 years of my period in the beginning in Delhi when I was jobless, penniless, everything was less.
When you met Shefali, basically.
Yes, when I met Shefali and she was there with me.
I'm still unclear how you all met. I know you told me she was in JNU, you lived opposite, but what was the first meeting? How did you all meet?
We had some friends a bunch of friends who didn't know how to face girls.
Okay.
And they thought that I can converse better. So they said that, why don't you? I mean, very weird. And when somebody introduced to her, and I was outsider. I was not part of JNU. I had done AMU and then came. I was looking for a job.
Jobless outsider.
Jobless outsider. I used to live in one of the servant quarters opposite JNU. So somebody introduced, but that introduction went a little ahead. I have no idea why, but I think there one line is that I was also suffering and she was also suffering. She had lost her father a couple of years back, 1.5 years back, and I was, of course, suffering because of being unable to find a job. So, and I think both of us were looking for honest relationship, I guess. So, yeah.
And that's probably where both of you all took a leap of faith.
Yes, I mean, she used to bring food from her hostel to feed me, and I was constantly for 4 years jobless. So you can imagine the pressure on her. I was not taking pressure at all.
Right.
I don't know why, because I was jobless, but yet I used to come back in the evening without realizing the tension. She used to tell that you don't look tensed for being jobless and you don't look like stressed. And she used to pick up those odd jobs to do a job and find some money to give it to me. She would come to me leaving her classes and go here and there to get lift in the buses because we didn't have money. I remember DTC bus, we had a khata system even in DTC bus, and all the dhabas we had a khata system. But I don't know, somehow we stuck together to go through those 4 years. Now I see that those were the infrastructural period of building for the next life.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And what were the other leaps of faith you took after that?
So I got my first job in journalism in IT magazine. I did it for 2.5 years. Then automatically I got an offer from Hindustan Times to do their website, which is hindustantimes.com and many .coms. And that is when I fell in love with the internet.
And after that, for example, one leap of faith was that I used to run, for example, HT, I was very successfully running this .com business, but I left it because when I built equivalent to yahoo.com for HT, I'm not talking about the newspaper website. I'm talking in addition, we created a portal for HT, and they got funding for $9 million for that. And they started a new setup, and then they started looking for a new CEO. So I thought that, okay, they don't think that, I am capable of running. So I left it. Nobody would leave HT's job because they used to consider as a government paid job, because at that time they still have a union in HT. And I left it and started a software company. 3 years I ran a software company, and then again I fell in love with thinking internet and poverty alleviation. And I left it. We had no money and the company had no balance, and we still have 110 employees. I left it because I thought that this is what I need to do. And since then also, we didn't have a penny, but we started working and always looking for work, not for money. And the work used to bring money.
And 20 years later, you still managed to juggle these two worlds of mainstream and grassroots, very few people do that. How do you do that?
Maybe because I, like you, I used to write columns. So whatever I used to do, I got a column. Leslie is sitting there. He also is part of that newspaper. You are a part of that newspaper. I think 10 years I did write stories about what we were doing. And perhaps that kept me connected. And before that also I was a journalist. So I never left the storytelling part of me. And that also turned out to be advocacy tool, because many people started reading, and that also connected us to the grassroots. I think the question for me is that not that, the mainstream was not there, but I never left the grassroots. I could have easily left the grassroots with the limelight of mainstream, but no, I thought that the real story is there and the real problem is there, the real issue is there, and most of it, this gives me a satisfaction.
And you're the best dressed man I know. Tell me why you switched to wearing handloom in 2009.
Again, leap of faith. The comfort, purely comfort. So I thought that if people sleep in the most comfortable dress, how can you wear the same dress not outside? So that's about cloth. But then about, let's say, style or whatever. So that I picked up. I thought कि ठीक है, जो पहन के सोते हैं उसमें थोड़ा color change हो जाएगा, थोड़ा style change हो जाएगा, तो it will be better looking. Maybe because I am slightly aesthetically driven, and also maybe because I travel in villages. If you go to villages, they are the best dressed people. They are the most, beautiful people. Just because के पैसे नहीं उनके पास, तो हमको लगता है कि अच्छा नहीं पहन रहे हैं या क्या है, but they look so beautiful. And I maybe the aesthetics come from there also.
Tell us some more about the beauty of villages, and then about the problems that you see there and that have always been there and that have still not gone. But first, let's talk about the beauty of villages.
So beauty of village is the strong connection between the 24-hour life cycle. So you have your own cattle, then you have your land, then whatever you eat, then you create a waste, and they all are cyclical. Somehow they are built in them. We segregate them. And we often listen in cities, professional life is different, personal life is different. I wonder why. How can it be different? How can it be not tensed at profession and be tensed at home? They both will reflect each other. So I feel that they have a very strong sense of, design life, in the sense the real design not for aesthetic design for, real life architecture. And they also know how to curate things at low cost.
Such as?
such as they are living there, they are living there is a low cost, and the also sense of satisfaction. Most of the rural people know that I need sun, I need light, I need to sleep so many hours, I need so much. So they have figured it out that what is the minimum that I need. So it's need based rather than desire based. I think that also is a wisdom that comes from there.
Yet, you've also told me that, religious segregation has grown dramatically and interfaith friendships have crumbled. WhatsApp is the main source of news. Casteism remains rampant even in 2023.
Everywhere, even in villages also.
About that? Yeah.
I have not seen even a single village where 2-3 castes live together. The only thing that they don't fight every day. And of course, in cities also, we don't fight every day. Class is our DNA. Caste is our DNA. Very brutal DNA, which bothers me every day. I have no idea how it started. It got so deeper into our life. And I see that reflection even in digital also. When we go for connectivity, they say कि ठाकुर के घर लगा दो, ब्राह्मण के घर लगा दो, मतलब जो मतलब इसके जो मजबूत है उसके घर लगा दो. When we go and make it connectivity available or a digital center available with a Dalit house, then the upper caste will not come there. If you make the woman in charge of it, many men will hesitate to come. And we learned through the system that, even though between all those classes and caste, computer somehow and IT somehow was still neutralizing factor. I mean, among many other factors, this was the most neutralizing because the first link to IT is education, and everybody want their children to get education or linked and become IT literate. That's the first leap of faith or a first, light at the end of the tunnel. That's how it is. But there is not a single place that we have gone where these kind of senses are not there. It's very deeply there. It's very, very deeply there.
So how does one tackle this? Or
I really, I would say that we have 2,000 centers at the moment across the country. I think 80 to 90 or even more than that percentage are all run by OBC and lower caste and minorities, very few upper caste. More than 50 to 60% are run by women. That's again, extreme neutralizing factor if women run it. And also from the perspective of gender. Is a great. Also, I see that digital is also works as a anti-patriarchy. I mean, very subtly, These are the two, three tools that we are using to get inside. I mean, you can also ask our other people, they all are outside, that how it works. But this is what giving us a little bit of hope.
Tell us a bit more about these flagship community information resource centers. What happens in these places run by women?
So these centers are basically like any other centers, or you can say Chopal. These centers are basically having connectivity, having digital device, having biometric machine, having printer, a projector, and so on and so forth. The primary objective of these center is that it should run on its own on a commercial basis or a sustainable basis by a woman is the first criteria. The second is that this should be able to give a chance to the villagers and everybody for which they have to go 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers, they get all access there. So whether it's access to entitlement, which is the largest issue these days because government has made most of the entitlement access across the barriers of technology. That is the first attraction. The second attraction is financial services, withdrawal of money, deposit of money, and so on and so forth. Third is education. Literacy, education, Naukri, and things like that. Fourth is access to health. That too got aggregated after COVID. that gives a video conferencing kind of link to the doctor, to the person sitting there. And then after that, everything else is depend on the entrepreneur who is running it, how creative you are. You are so creative that you start selling, let's say, dongles, or you start selling 10 rupees top up, or you start selling something
Tell
else.
us some of the things people are doing, like creatively, like are they actually?
So creatively, I think maybe next panel when Natasha is going to do, she
Right.
maybe highlight. But I'll tell you, one person in Rajasthan runs WhatsApp newspaper. Beside running the center, every evening that guy goes and creates a PDF file of news in Hindi, writes it, edits it, and circulate every day.
Wow.
Every day. Then there is another person who runs podcast.
And which is not like, which is
Not our, this is that we have encouraged so much, and we have allowed them to run as an entrepreneur, a micro entrepreneur so well that they have flourished.
And what kind of news does he focus on?
All political, all kind of news. In general, it's like a daily newspaper. And designed is also
Hopefully
like that.
without the misinformation.
No, yeah, I mean that's the reason why he is still part of our network. Then there are many people who sell products online. There are many people who go many kilometers on cycle and bike to provide the services. Many people do at the time of disaster, they become social workers, they become charity providers.
Right.
So it goes on and on. So when you go to, if you like in COVID time, UNICEF funded us to convert almost 885 centers into a health dissemination centers. So all these girls and women and men, they became health warriors in the sense that cycle pe mobile laga ke and speaker laga ke, they were announcing everywhere. Some of them were writing on the wall. Some of them were distributing pamphlets. Some of them were making databases on WhatsApp and distributing information. So you will not see that a digital person doing wall writing, but they did, because they are the only literate, educated, and properly equipped people in the villages. The idea is that, we consider that all the backward districts translate into about 350 districts, translate into about 3,500 blocks, translate into about 1,15,000 panchayat. We envisage that all those places should have one woman entrepreneur with digital centers and literacy to provide all kind of services to the villages, but gradually they should be equipped enough to safeguard them also from misinformation and fake news.
Where do your constant stream of ideas come from? Like, I mean, there's so many, like you go out, you see all the number of programs, and now I just saw Bookaloom. I mean, where do these ideas come from?
So
tell us about Bookaloom, but it's one of your newer.
It's a part
right?
of our DigiKargha. DigiKargha is a Section 8 separate company, came out of DEF because we work with craftsperson and artisans. Again, you will say, why craftsperson artisans? Because they are the biggest creative people in the villages. They are the largest creative and designing people in the villages, and they are still poor because they are producers. So we started working with them, but now we also realize that, can we give a chance to people like you or anybody who live in the city to directly work with them? So you book a, time with them, and tell them, this is what I want. Can you make it happen? Also, it came from an idea that they need to talk directly, and you need to talk directly with the producer, because there are so many middlemen in the middle, which takes all your cost of retailership, and it's a less cost for them. Less money earning for them that they reach there. So there is a middle layer which is a lot, and that digital can actually overcome all the middle layer, and both the producer and the consumer can talk to each other directly.
Quickly tell us about some of the other interesting ideas that you all have experimented with.
So one of the latest idea, I won't say too many ideas, is that A Code we have started, which is art and art and collective for digital empowerment. So this is a new idea came because of the current environment of the country, which is very autocratic, authoritative and subjugative. You don't have a liberty to speak, you don't have a liberty to act, and so on and so forth. So we thought that why not use art as a expression for agitation, for your subjugation, for everything. So we thought that let's create a bundle of people and their work and their organization as a cohort and use art as an expression of not agreeing, or anything, or social justice, or real justice and everything. So this is the latest one, which is very exciting because people like you who are storytellers, who are writers, or people who are filmmakers, people who are expressionists, people who are writers, people who are storytellers, they can be part of this one to tell that I don't like internet shutdown, rather than going on Jantar Mantar and get beaten. And internet shutdown is not good for the poor people or for economy or anything, or for that matter, trolling, or for that matter, anything. I'm not saying only digital issues, but all issues.
Which has been happening actually since CA, NRC. There was a lot of like visual artists protesting in brilliant ways.
Absolutely. Like stand-up comedy.
So you're saying you're organizing these people?
No, so we have created a collective. It's a collective. It's a collective. And we got some funding in place to help bring them come together to actually, create, and they feel powerful with each other also, because that's, alone they are very single, you alone could be, pointed out or something, but all of us together can become more powerful.
And there was a GI project also, right?
GI project, this is a beauty. I mean, I also say that Leap of Faith has also got a very strong linkage of serendipity. I realize that all GI location is directly related to the poor areas, and also related to the IP, and also related to the originality, like, the Mysore sari or the Mysore pie, or let's say Kanchipuram or Chanderi, they all are GI location, geographical indication. But we are failing to use that as a tool of economic empowerment or creating livelihood. And in the digital era, if Kerala can become a God's own country, then any GI should become a God's own country, in terms of attraction, in terms of highlighting that rice or whatever, or any particular thing. So when we started thinking, we got, one of the companies say that we will give you 2.5 crore to work for 3 years on 10 GIs in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So हम बहुत excited हो गए. So we thought that they are giving us 10, but we will create a portal of all GIs in one place, so that can become attractive. And we are hoping that we can have a digital dissemination center or a attraction center in all GI locations also. So you will, if you go to Mysore, you will see very soon there. If you, so 10 location we are going to start working with, but gradually the purpose is that how GI location can become a tool of attracting consumers to the local people, either as a means of tourism or their product, and create a local livelihood for the poor people.
So what will be disseminated at these centers?
These centers is something like, imagine going to Mysore and some poor fellow is talking about GI and taking you around and doing a, rickshaw mein leke ja raha hai, or something like that. So basically highlighting GI means using that as a tool and become an advertising tool to in terms of knowledge, in terms of wisdom, in terms of content, and also see if we can also open some shops and those kind of things.
You said earlier that Shefali always says that, you don't get flustered by anything. You're always like, whatever's happening in your life and all, you're cool. You don't look like you don't get hassled by anything.
That is true, except that I'm not very, very cool in the last 7 years. Ever since
8 now.
8 now. Ever since we have, like I said, my life started because of the liberty in my village, the freedom in my village. At that time, it was from my father's dictum, but now the whole country has become like that. So obviously not very thing. But I also feel that we have to do a lot of work. We cannot just pass it on to somebody else.
Right. I'll end on that thought-provoking note, but we'll open it up to questions.
Yes, anybody, yeah. Sorry to bother all of you for, you must have come to see some tech innovation or something and you started listening these personal stories.
Anyone has a question for Sama?
Yeah.
Sure.
Would love to understand how, when you started, did you anticipated that India will have this kind of penetration of internet, this kind of penetration that will be the center of world with the cheapest internet and this kind of accessibility? And when this was happening, how were you reacting? And where do you see this will go?
And you should also talk about the paradox of connected India.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, connected and yet.
So, Mohit, I don't know if I have an answer to that one, because if you think through my glass, I am only looking at the unconnected and there is still 600 million. So I remember I was sitting in one of the ministries and usually I never used to go and wait for somebody to meet. But in one of the bureaucrats really made me to sit for a very long time. When I got up to meet him, I told him that, India mein bahut gaon hai aur bahut poor hai. If you don't have a time, I will go to some other village. Don't worry. So, my angle of look is कि जरूरत कहाँ है और जरूरत इतनी ज्यादा है और इतनी जगहों पे है कि you always have an open field to work. I mean, imagine I'm writing an article when I used to, in 1998, 99, I used to write for Industry Standard in Silicon Valley, 200 pieces. They used to pay me $1 a word at that time. And I used to write for how internet was progressing in India, right? And when I was reading those stories, for me, things haven't changed yet. Because at that time, there is a story that I was reanalyzing was saying that India, MTNL and VSNL is starting to give ISDN line to Apollo Hospital to do video conferencing and show doctors work to coordinate with American doctor to get some consulting. And telemedicine still hasn't reached to that level even after 27 years. So we are as much connected as we are unconnected. And that is the paradox that we say 700 million people are connected. That is a number. We are meaningfully not connected more than 200 million people. Meaningfully, that means can you do transaction? Can you pay online? Can you download video? Can you see all those things? It's not because of the literacy, because of the speed, because of the buffering, because of so many things. And even if that happens, 600 million people are still unconnected. And why it matters is because if you are unconnected, you don't get Narega payment. If you are unconnected, you don't get your ration. If you are unconnected, your Aadhaar and the PAN card is not linked. So life matters now. That's the paradox that I'm talking about.
And they're still paying $1 a word, by the way, all these years later. Any other questions?
Yeah, Nikit.
Hi, Sama. I had a question around, because you've been speaking a lot about the ones that are not connected, right? But of course, in the last few years in particular, even though, people are not connected, people are definitely being watched, and that kind of, being seen by the state through technology in the form of, various forms of surveillance. How have you, as somebody who's, thinking about connectedness through technology, how have you made meaning of the way in which this project of seeing people and also censoring people, how has that been put into motion, and how do you make meaning of that through your work?
So you are absolutely right. We have become a panopticon country, totally. There's no doubt about it. Not that it was not possible earlier. In fact, online, we always have a print of your watching and being watched, but in real life, if somebody is watching you, you won't know. In online, it is still possible to be tracked. The person who is watching can be tracked online, but in offline, it is still not, there is a possibility that you won't be known. अगर मैं आपके घर के गेट के आगे कहीं कोने में खड़े होकर देख रहा हूँ, आप कब आ रहे हो, जा रहे हो, किसी को पता नहीं चलेगा. But online, if I am watching you, I can be tracked, I can be pointed out. Having said that, I don't have an answer, but मुझे भी लगता है कि गांव में मैंने connectivity कराई, I told them how to use this, and then seeing that the person is forwarding some bullshit message, I taught them how to use WhatsApp, but they are actually forwarding message which is actually not good for health or good for society. This is the dichotomy. Now we do more digital literacy about how to point out misinformation than how to use mobile for making transactions. We are telling them what not to do more than what to do online. Yeah, there is. Now, earlier our course was all only how to use this, that, and what you can do. Now our half the course is about what not to do. And how to keep yourself safe, how कैसे password रखें, क्या मत खोलें, only 5 ही app खोलो, ये जवाब. So its no's are so many, don'ts are so many that you don't know what to do. And especially because for the first time user, it's very dangerous. First time user को क्या है? First time user do not even know that if somebody is calling with a ill feel or whatever, they will send you a message saying कि click करो नहीं तो तुम्हारा बिजली चला जाएगा. अरे मैंने तो बिजली भी पे कर दिया, सब कुछ किया. When I click, money is withdrawn from my bank. So there is a huge what you call as the insecurity or security literacy that we have to do rather than something like. But more directly reply to your question, I would say that governments and the corporates are certainly using technology less for inclusion and more for exploitation. It is inbuilt in their agenda. Yeah.
There's 2 questions over there.
I don't think I answer.
Yeah.
So my question is regarding education, considering you're bringing so much connectivity to the villages, how do you plan to impact education through connectivity?
So I see that education is going to be the most affected area as an institution. I see that very soon in the near future, there will be a huge impact on the institutional exploitation of everybody who seek education, because education is totally wide open. It can be tried and it can be tested, even online education, individual, you can choose teachers and everything, all that is open. So I see that education is going to go through alternative education is not going to be only a fad or a cup of tea for few people, but I feel that education is going to be as an institution challenged for good, very soon. That's what I see. I can go deeper because education मुझे बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं है और लेकिन मैं in general, so what is looking like that Byju's of the world who is trying to take over the education is not going to happen in general. People are going to be liberalized for access to education sooner, very soon. Pardon me? Chat GPT is something like, खुदा ने आपको दिमाग दिया, इस्तेमाल करना है तो करो, नहीं करना मत करो. So chat GPT is exactly like that. You need to figure out how do you want to use it or not. I mean, for many people, our team, I'm sure they are using it for making proposals in a very short time. I saw Saurabh was using this and many more people were using it. Some people were also discussing that I'm receiving too many mails, can it be replied? So I think is that chat GPT is certainly going to challenge us to think contextually and use contextually. It is not, and those who will not will suffer like anybody else. So chat GPT is one word is saying it is going to challenge you whether you are a bot or a human. For education, yeah, I mean, if you keep the examination and certification system intact, then ChatGPT is going to be dangerous. And if you are not liberalize education, then it will not.
So Sama is actually connected to the same question that Aruna here. So you're talking about, I mean, there's already digital exclusion and a lot of digital divide that exists. Now, at the one end, we have a lot of unconnected people. On the other hand, 4 months back, 5 months back, you had ChatGPT suddenly coming up and changing the world with the number of LLMs and a lot of new tools that are coming up. Fake news is going to become exponentially, I mean, you could at one point of time still figure out that something is fake. Right now, you can create videos which can mimic anyone, right? I mean, already there's an AI newscaster, I think on Aaj Tak. There was anything else which has come out. I forgot the name of the person or whatever that.
I will give you four.
So how is it going to affect? I mean, I clearly see that at one end there is a existing digital divide, and there is an tool that is going to exponentially increase it among a certain set of people and not necessarily help a lot of people. So how is it going to help?
I will give you 4 examples. All this has happened in front of you in your own life, which look like that it is going to change. But you have seen it. When internet came, everybody thought that it will change for everyone. We all are in front of each other. Now, nobody knows what is internet. Everybody knows what is Facebook, what is Instagram, what is Google. Internet has, totally vanished. The whole openness and the bigness and the largeness of internet is gone, and we are now suffering from these 5 companies. Who has squeezed the internet into totally consumeristic oriented thing. And that's what they struggle. So then .com came. Everybody thought that .com will solve everybody's problem. And my friend Anshu Gupta says that .com se roti thodi milega. So that also we have seen. Then we have seen mobile. Then we have seen app, right? We thought that app will solve all the problem. Or challenge everybody who is not going to join. And then now we have reached to ChatGPT. I think we are just, overreacting to ChatGPT at the moment. I think we need to figure out how AI as a means of technology going to give power to the autocrats and the government and the corporates to take over the life of the people is what, I mean, not ChatGPT is not, it's just one little example of what. It is actually the AI as a mechanism, as a tool, or as a system that is going to empower these people to control. Certainly that is a matter of issue. Yeah, can we also make it last?
Last question.
One question. You wanted.
In spite of all its flaws of internet and digital technology, there are also quite a few potentials. Like I see that Narega website gives so much of information regarding each person who has worked for last 15, 20 years. Now we can have similar kind of transparency of other programs of each government, state or central government, and provide data real time, so that you and I can see it, and people whom for it is meant to be can also see it and ask questions. So this kind of transparency can lead to accountability. There is a potential in this digital technology which is not being utilized. And even people like us, who work with marginalized people, vulnerable people, do not demand that government put out its data in real time for all of us to scrutinize it. So how can we go ahead with these kind of demands or these kind of efforts, like the DF and organizations like ours, how can we take this forward? What do you see there?
So my understanding and the trend shows that technology is always adopted by the policy makers and the administrators, showing the people that we want to use it for your good, but end up exploiting them. That is what I have seen. So what you are seeing is a perfect example. There is no doubt about it. Even the latest dictum in Narega for marking attendance online with a photograph on the ground, they are saying that we want to be, honest. We want to give the money to the honest people, and those people are working on the ground. That's their prerogative. Actually, they are ending up not giving it. Similarly, Telangana government developed a AI policy and AI-driven data, and they end up themselves losing about 100,000 people declaring dead. Because database में से एक लाइन कट गया, आपके रजिस्टर में से एक पन्ना हटा लिया और उसको डिक्लेयर कर दे, मर जाएगा तो कैसा लगेगा? आप ये सोचो थोड़ी देर के लिए. There is a register of all the people. उसमें से कोई एक पेज फाड़ दे, ठीक है? तो आपको लगेगा इतने ही लोग जिंदा हैं क्या? That is what happens in from one table being deleted from one program. And then they said that no, it was only 78% correct. Now we are aspiring for 98% or something. So, it is always that they want to tell you that they want to serve you better, but they end up forgetting those people in a process that they exclude or they end up excluding. What I'm saying is that a lady who is only depending on ration in a village in a Jharkhand, for her 24 hour is also long enough to be hungry, for not having ration. But my program not working and I'm getting better and better, and 5 years down the line, it will become better to give you the transparency is too much a thing. So I'm again not replying as a solution, but what I'm saying scenario, intention pe farak padta hai aur kuch nahi.
And actually, from what I understand, even though the government is collecting much more data about its citizens, citizens are getting less access to public data.
हम कह रहे हैं ठीक है तुम मेरी जिंदगी ले लो, लेकिन मेरे लिए अच्छा करो. ये मत बोलो कि तुम्हारी जिंदगी ले रहे हैं ताकि कल तुमको जल्दी से इजाजत दे दे ऊपर जाने के लिए. ये तो नहीं हो सकता ना. So that's what it is being done. Most of the time, that is what it is being done.
On that happy note.
One last question, please. What? So what I find more amazing than the work that you do is that you've been able to organically scale this organization from your dorm room to hundreds of centers all across the country, and also leave a legacy of 20 years and a lot more years to come. What are your thoughts on scaling an organization, or rather, what is your advice on how to scale an organization to the level that you have?
We are in the startup city of India. You have to give some startup advice. I forgot to ask you this key question.
If you go to village, every nook and corner is a startup. हर ठेले वाला startup है. So, जिसके ठेले हम religion के नाम पे आजकल धक्का देके हटा देते हैं. So anyway, Vijay, we can have a longer conversation, but relating to solution to the problem is very important. The difference between a social entrepreneurship and social organization is that we first find the problem, then find the solution. In a startup, they first find the solution, then they look for problems. No, I'm not kidding. I mean, so if you just reverse this, even if you have done the solution, but if you reverse it by looking at related problems, whether geographically or age-wise or whatever, I think you will have the scale up much faster than you can think of.
Thank you so much, Osama.
Thank you so much. चाय आप लोगों के लिए ready है बाहर, शायद, है ना? No, sorry. Yeah, I think there is something. We are free. We are free.
Thank you, Priya, and thank you, Osama. That was really incredible to hear you guys talk about your journey so far. Before we break for tea, we have a small session of poetry with Nitesh. Guys, tea is not ready yet. Come back. We We have another session.
Abhijit, please sit.
Okay, so now we have a poetry session by Nitesh Bhardwaj, founder of Adivasi Jan Jagruti, which is working to bring social justice and create hyperlocal social awareness in Maharashtra's Nandurbar district. Osama sir will please call Nitesh.
Yeah, so it has been already called, but I just want to give you a perspective. नीतीश बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग व्यक्ति हैं, very good poet, working for social justice, comes from Bihar, but doesn't live in Bihar. He lives in Nandurbar tribal area. And his effort has his organization. He has been awarded by Manthan Award, one of the awards that we instituted, for his work with the tribals and creating a YouTube channel by the tribals and their songs and their issues. And लाखों में लोग देखते हैं. He is going to. I requested him to can he write a poetry related to digital data justice, digital issues, and things like that. तो नितेश से बहुत सीखने को है. सबसे बड़ी बात है कि हम नितेश के साथ अब नंदुरबार भी जा रहे हैं. That is how we go to villages.
मेरा नाम नितेश है. मैं हिंदी में ही बात करूंगा. हम कहानी है थोड़ी सी और थोड़ी बहुत ऐसी कुछ लाइंस अगर मिक्स हो जाएं तो बस वो है. हम अभी डिजिटल की बात कर रहे हैं और आई थिंक डिजिटल में नागरिक होने का सबसे बड़ा मतलब यही है कि आपके पास 12 अंकीय आधार हो और 10 अंकीय पैन हो. अगर ये दो नहीं है तो शायद आप नागरिक नहीं हैं. मैंने कभी कहीं पढ़ा हुआ था कि इश्क में मतलब लोग ऐसे कहते हैं कि प्यार हो जाए तो प्यार का एपिटॉम क्या है, एंड गोल क्या है. तो ऐसा है कि इश्क में कुछ मैं ऐसा हो जाऊं कि बिल्कुल मैं तेरे जैसा हो जाऊं. लेकिन अगर आज के संदर्भ में ये बात करें, आज के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कहें तो शायद कुछ ऐसा कहेंगे कि इश्क में बस एक आखिरी तार जोड़ना बाकी है, तेरे पैन से अपना आधार जोड़ना बाकी है. या फिर ऐसा हम कह सकते हैं कि इश्क में कुछ इस कदर एक हो जाए कि थंब इम्प्रेशन में अपना लगाऊं और आईडी वेरिफिकेशन तेरा हो जाए. तो मैं यहाँ पे कुछ बातें बताने आया हूँ. कुछ बातें हो जाएं. सो मैं थोड़ा दूर से आता हूँ, ऐसी जगह से आता हूँ जहां आपको जाने के लिए 2.5 घंटे की फ्लाइट लेनी पड़ेगी, 6 घंटे की लाल डब्बे की सवारी लेनी पड़ेगी. लाल डब्बा महाराष्ट्र में चलता है, ढकर 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 करके चलता है वो. सो 2.5 घंटे की फ्लाइट लेनी पड़ेगी, 6 घंटे की लाल डब्बे की सवारी लेनी पड़ेगी, 3 घंटे की काली पीली की सवारी लेनी पड़ेगी, फिर से 1 घंटे की लाल डब्बे की सवारी लेनी पड़ेगी, फिर आधे घंटे का नाव और फिर 20 मिनट की पैदल की यात्रा. बाकी आपकी स्पीड के ऊपर है कि आप कितना तेज वहां तक पहुंच पाए. तो अगर आप वहां जाएं, और मैं चाहूंगा कि आप वहां जाएं, तो आपको रील मैटर भी मिलेगा और रियल मैटर भी मिलेगा. फर्क सिर्फ ये रहेगा कि रियल मैटर आप लेकर के वापस आ पाएंगे, रील मैटर आप अपलोड नहीं कर पाएंगे, क्योंकि आपको अपलोड करने के लिए 20 मिनट पैदल चलना पड़ेगा, आधे घंटे के नाव में बैठना पड़ेगा और 1 घंटे के लाल डब्बे की सवारी से ब्लॉक ऑफिस आना पड़ेगा जहां पे आपको इंटरनेट मिलेगा. मगर थोड़ा संयम लेकर आना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि 12 MB 18 MB की फाइल के लिए आपको लगभग 1 घंटा लग सकता है. और नाव पे स्कैनर नहीं है, मतलब स्कैनर है लेकिन इंटरनेट नहीं है, तो आप नाव में बैठे बैठे स्कैन नहीं कर पाएंगे, तो पेमेंट नहीं होगा, तो कैश लेकर जाना पड़ेगा 20 रुपया. तो उस गांव में जब आप जाएंगे, सावरिया दिगर उस गांव का नाम है, तो उस गांव में जब आप जाएंगे तो फिलहाल कोई नहीं मिलेगा. एक बूढ़ी अम्मा होंगी, जो हर घर में एक बूढ़ी अम्मा होंगी, क्योंकि बाकी सभी लोग मजदूरी पर गए हैं पंढरपुर, बीड़, सूरत, मध्य प्रदेश के कुछ और जिलों में गन्ने के खेतों में काम करने के लिए. मनरेगा में है काम, जैसे मैम ने भी बताया, मनरेगा में बहुत सारा काम है, मगर मनरेगा का फायदा नहीं मिल पा रहा है, क्योंकि देश में ट्रांसपेरेंसी लानी है, अकाउंटेबिलिटी सेट करना है. इसलिए इंटरनेट के माध्यम से आपको फोटो खींचना है और बताना है, जैसे सर ने भी बताया, कि कौन कहाँ काम कर रहा है, क्योंकि ना खाएंगे ना खाने देंगे, इस चक्कर में कोई काम नहीं हो रहा है, ना रोजगार मिल रहा है, न लोग घरों में रह पा रहे हैं। हो क्या रहा है, सिर्फ पलायन हो रहा है। तो लोग घरों से निकल रहे हैं और चले जा रहे हैं। 2 महीने की बच्ची भी जा रही है उनके साथ में, 11 साल के बच्चे भी जा रहे हैं, महिलाएं जा रही है, और वो सारे लोग जो कंधों कंधों पर गोनियां उठा पाते हैं, वो सभी लोग चले जाते हैं पलायन करके। तो ये काकी जो है, ये जो अम्मा है, ये अम्मा पैसा निकालने कभी आती हैं, वापस से वैसे ही 15-20 मिनट की पैदल की सफर, 20 से 30 मिनट की नाव, 1 घंटे के लाल डब्बी की सवारी, और जाती हैं ब्लॉक ऑफिस, कहती हैं कि मुझे पैसा चाहिए। उनके अकाउंट में कुछ 10,000 रुपए हैं। वो जाती हैं बैंक मैनेजर के, कहती हैं कि मुझे ये मेरा अंगूठा है, पैसे निकाल कर दे दो। बैंक मैनेजर कहते हैं यार मैंने तो फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन करके रखा हुआ है, गांव गांव में हमने बैंकिंग कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट्स लगा के रखे हैं, तो आप फालतू में क्यों यहाँ आ रहे हो। काकी सोची 70 साल हो गए, मुझे आज तक कोई दिखा नहीं है, जो भी टर्म है उस टर्म का कोई आदमी दिखा नहीं। फिर ध्यान आया कि नहीं, मोचड़ा पावरा के लड़के को लाइसेंस मिला है बैंक चलाने का, लेकिन वो गांव में नहीं चला पा रहा है। क्यों? क्योंकि इंटरनेट नहीं है। तो उसको वापस शहर में आना है, उसको भी वैसे ही आना है, पैदल, नाव, लाल डब्बे की सवारी, और बिल्कुल बैंक के बगल में सटा करके उसने चिपका करके अपनी दुकान खोल रखी है, जिसमें वो वापस से पैसे निकलवाता है। अम्मा जाती हैं, पैसा निकालती हैं और 10,000 रुपए उनके अकाउंट में। पैसा निकालती हैं, लेकर घर आ जाती हैं, वापस से वैसे लाल डब्बे की सवारी, नाव, पैदल घर पहुंचती हैं। तो अम्मा को कोई शौक नहीं है ऐसे रोज आने का, लेकिन जितनी भी उनके लिए सरकारी योजनाएं हैं, चाहे वो राशन हो, चाहे वो वृद्धा पेंशन योजना हो, सभी के लिए उनको वैसे ही सफर करना है। 70-75 साल की हैं, सभी के लिए वैसे ही आना है। तो फालतू में वृद्धा पेंशन योजना के लिए वापस से आए, क्योंकि कुछ भी नहीं है इनके गांव में, इंटरनेट नहीं है। बाय द वे वो 70 करोड़ में आती हैं, जो अभी सर बता रहे थे कि 70 करोड़ लोग जो हैं वो इंटरनेट का इस्तेमाल करते हैं, अम्मा उन 70 करोड़ लोग में आती हैं। 60 करोड़ पर तो हम जा भी नहीं रहे हैं। तो अम्मा जो है वो पैसे निकाल कर ले जाती हैं और पहुंच जाती हैं। 2 महीने बाद वापस से अम्मा को पैसे की जरूरत पड़ती है, वापस से अम्मा 20 मिनट की पैदल यात्रा, आधे घंटे की नाव की यात्रा, 1 घंटे की लाल डब्बी की सवारी, बैंक के पास आती है, कहती हैं पैसे चाहिए। जब पैसा चेक करती हैं तो 1 रुपये उनके अकाउंट में नहीं है। जहां से उन्होंने पैसे निकाले थे, वहां जब वापस जाती हैं, चेक कराती हैं, तो पता है 1 रुपया भी नहीं है। 8,000 गायब है। 8,000 बहुत से लोगों के लिए, आप में से कई लोगों के लिए सिर्फ 1 दिन की सैलरी होगी। अम्मा के लिए पूरे जीवन की सैलरी थी। 8,000 रुपए वो गायब है। अच्छा, लेकिन अम्मा तो यहाँ ऐसे परेशान है, लेकिन अम्मा के जो बच्चे हैं वो भी वहां खुश नहीं है। गोनियां उठाने गए थे वहां पे 40 लोग उस पूरे गांव से, वहां गए भीड़ में। हमारे यहाँ कहते हैं बिहार में बंधुआ मजदूरी, इंग्लिश में बहुत ही सोफिस्टिकेटेड टर्म है बॉन्डेड लेबर। उनसे बॉन्डेड लेबर करवाया जा रहा है। कहा जा रहा है कि जितनी गोनियों के लिए आपको रखा गया था, आपने कंप्लीट नहीं किया तो आपको घर नहीं जाना है। कोई और ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म होता, सोशल मीडिया पर डालते, वायरल हो जाते, फटाफट सारा का सारा सोशल जस्टिस न्याय घर पे आ जाता। लेकिन इंटरनेट नहीं है, तो वो चीजें नहीं हो पाई। तो अम्मा परेशान, अम्मा के बच्चे परेशान, और जिसने अम्मा के पैसे निकाले वो भी परेशान, क्योंकि उसके गांव में, जैसा मैम ने बताया कि महुआ जो है उसकी शराब बनती है, और वो लीगल है या इलीगल है इसके बारे में जानकारी नहीं, मुझे भी नहीं थी। तो उसी के गांव की एक महिला को, राजेश नाम है, राजेश पटले, उनकी वाइफ को पुलिस जाकर के मारती है। सिर्फ ये कह, पुलिस जाकर मारती है, 4 मेल पुलिस वाले जाते हैं, मारते हैं सिर्फ ये कह करके कि तुम लोग महुआ की शराब बनाते हो और ये इलीगल है। पुलिस मारती है, उनको सिकल सेल की बीमारी है, वो गिर जाती हैं, अस्पताल में जाती हैं, उनका पति आता है, अस्पताल में उनको उठाकर ले जाता है, थाने में जाता है, थाने में गाली सुनता है, फिर वापस आ जाता है उसी अस्पताल में। और ये तीनों कहानियां जो हैं, अब बाय द वे अगर ये कहानी अगर किसी शहर की होती जहां पर पुलिस ने किसी औरत के ऊपर हाथ उठाया तो सारी पुलिस जाती, एसपी जाते, एसएसपी साहब जाते, डीआईजी जाते हैं, मुख्यमंत्री एक छोटा सा बयान भी दे देते, मुआवजा भी मिल जाता, मगर इनमें से कुछ नहीं हुआ वहां पे। तो मेरा एक दोस्त है, वो अक्सर एक बात कहता है कि अभी सारी चीजें सोशल मीडिया के जमाने पे, प्यार, नौकरी, इश्क, सब कुछ स्क्रीन पर आ गया है, सब कुछ स्क्रीन पर है, मगर हमारे गांव की बात ब्लूटूथ डबल सीन पर है, कोई उनकी बातें नहीं सुन रहा। तो क्या सब इतना खराब है? मतलब इतनी सारी चीजें खराब हो रखी हैं तो हम क्या कर रहे हैं? मतलब इंटरनेट इतना खराब है क्या? ऐसा नहीं है, फिर हम काहे के लिए बैठे हैं? हम लोग इतने सारे लोग काहे के लिए हैं अगर इंटरनेट इतना ही खराब है तो? तो वो जो अम्मा जो थी, वो अम्मा जिनके पैसे गायब हो गई थी, वो अम्मा हमारे पास आई। हम एक छोटी सी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन चलाते हैं। अम्मा हमारे पास आई, अम्मा ने रोते रोते कहा कि हाय कलेजा, मेरा सारा पैसा चला गया। हमने इंटरनेट से पता किया, पता चला कि अम्मा का पैसा उसी आदमी ने लेकर रखा है। हम वहां गए, हमने कहा पैसे भी चाहिए, ब्याज सहित पैसा मिला, इंसाफ मिला। अम्मा के जो घर के 40 के लोग जो थे, जो भीड़ में कहीं फंसे हुए थे, वो वापस नहीं आ पा रहे थे। हमने उन पे बात की, हमने उनकी पूरी कहानी दिखाई फिल्मों के माध्यम से, कलेक्टर साहब को बताई, वीडियो साहब को बताई। हालांकि उनकी तरफ से बहुत ज्यादा सहयोग नहीं मिला, सहयोग लोगों से ही मिला, पर वो सारे लोग छूट कर बाहर हैं। वो महिला जिसको पुलिस ने मारा था, उसकी हमने कहानी दिखाई और इंश्योर किया कि एफआईआर दर्ज हो, क्योंकि देश में, मुझे बाकी जगहों का नहीं पता, हमारे यहाँ फिलहाल जो न्याय व्यवस्था है वो एफआईआर तक भी नहीं पहुंची है। हमने इंश्योर किया कि एफआईआर हो और पुलिस वालों को सजा मिली। तो उसी इंटरनेट के माध्यम से इतनी सारी चीजें हो रही थी, उनको न्याय भी मिला। कहने का सिर्फ मतलब ये रहा कि जिसके पास है उसके पास तो है, जिसके पास नहीं है वो बहुत बुरी हालत में है। हम सभी अभी जब यहाँ बातें कर रहे हैं कि इंटरनेट से क्या क्या हो सकता है, कई ऐसे लोग हैं जिनके पास कोई भी चीज नहीं है करने के लिए, कोई भी आवाज उनके पास नहीं है, और मुझे लगता है हम सभी उनकी आवाज बन सकते हैं। इंटरनेट ने बहुत कुछ बदला हमारे लिए। हमने कोशिश की, हमने जितनी सारी काम किए हैं उसकी वजह से, और उसी के तहत हम डीएफ से जुड़ने वाले हैं। हमने इंटरनेट के माध्यम से काम किया, 2 ग्राम पंचायतों में चुनाव लड़े और 15 की 15 सीट हमने जीत ली, सिर्फ इसी इंटरनेट की ताकत की वजह से। इसी इंटरनेट की ताकत की वजह से कई जगहों पर हमने दिखाया कि सड़क खराब है और सड़क बनाई गई है, और धड़गांव में एक सड़क हमारे नाम पर है। इंटरनेट की ये ताकत है, लेकिन बात सिर्फ वही है, क्या हम उसका सही इस्तेमाल करवा पा रहे हैं नहीं, क्योंकि भूख सबके अंदर है। मेरे पास फोन है, इंटरनेट है, और मुझे कुछ ना कुछ तो चाहिए चेक करने के लिए। तो या तो मैं हिंदू मुस्लिम देखते रहूं, या तो व्हाट नेशन वांट्स टू नो देखते रहूं, या तो कुछ और देखूं जिसकी वाकई में हमें जरूरत है। बस मुझे यही कहानी बतानी थी कि मैं थोड़ा दूर से आया हूं, और जब मैं आपको बार बार कह रहा हूं कि आपको लाल डब्बी की सवारी करनी पड़ेगी, नाव की सवारी करनी पड़ेगी और पैदल जाना पड़ेगा, तो मैं बोलते बोलते थक जाऊंगा, आप सुनते सुनते थक जाएंगे, मगर एक बूढ़ी अम्मा 65 साल से वो रोज करती आ रही हैं। तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। मैं एक पता नहीं मैं कह सकता हूँ या नहीं, मगर हम कोशिश करें डीएफ के साथ मिलकर के, कि हमारे पास 2 ग्राम पंचायत हैं, हमने भी पिछले साल ही उसको जीता है, तो हम डीएफ के साथ मिलकर के उसको डिजिटल ग्राम पंचायत बदलने पे काम कर रहे हैं। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you, Nitesh. That was lovely. We can now break for tea and we will come back at 7:30 to have the last session of today. Thank you so much.
And the music show.
That's not a session, that's fun time.
Hi, good afternoon. So thank you very much for coming back. बाहर से यहाँ अंदर आना बहुत मुश्किल है शायद. Yeah. So the most important thing that is left for the day 3 actually, one is first of all that there will be dinner. And the second will be there will be music performance by Vasu Dixit. So don't even cancel all your evening appointments. And the third most important thing is that you are going to listen beautiful stories from the villages. What we have, and by a storyteller whom you know from more written stories, Natasha Badwar. So I would request Natasha to come on the stage. She I don't know how to introduce her. Anybody? She is a great storyteller, great writer. She converts family stories into everybody's story. Beautifully. So Natasha will talk to Babita. Babita, please आइए आप ऊपर. Babita has come from a district called next to Delhi, about 50-60 kilometers from Delhi. But if you reach there, you will think that you are some village somewhere. Then we have Mani Bharti. Mani Bharti has come from Pondicherry. And then we have Harshita. Harshita, all these people that I'm introducing you are related to the digital centers that we talked about. Then we have Ataya. Ataya has come from Bharatpur in Rajasthan, very close to Alwar, and from where Babita also comes. Babita, by the way, is awarded Sushna Preneur for her work in her village. Then we have Oliva Bala. Wonderful. She is coming from East. Then we have Kiran. Kiran ji, आप भी आ जाइए. किरण हमारे देश से झारखंड से हैं, है ना किरण? हाँ. और रंजिता. So Ranjita comes from MM Hills, right? She comes from which is part of the MM Hills. And all these people are associated with rural India, but they are also a story of digital centers that they run in different capacity in their areas. We have requested them to come to different parts of the country so that, we can have a mix of all kind of a spread that we have. And we hand them over to Natasha to, talk to them and let you give a little bit of glimpse so that you can fix appointment with us to go to visit their places. Thank you.
Best stories for the last, and I feel so honored that I have been asked to speak to these wonderful women who truly represent the work of Digital Empowerment Foundation. Okay, I hope my voice was reaching the end even without the mic. Thank you. Thank you for that reassurance. So like I was saying, the best stories we have saved for the last, and I'm going to start with Oliva. Yeah. Behind the scenes, we've all shared jokes कि हम लोग सब nervous हैं और हमने बहुत easy मजाक किया है इस बात को लेकर. तो ओलिवा सारे डर भूल जाते हैं और अपनी कहानी पर बिल्कुल फोकस करेंगे. तो ओलिवा is from the tea gardens of North Bengal. I've been listening to her story all evening. She's a very empowered woman. She has enabled many women in her community and many other people in the community to get access to their rights. As we know, people who work in the tea gardens in North Bengal and in Assam are one of the most impoverished communities. Oliva represents them, and she's going to tell us about her contribution to the community.
मेरा नाम ओलिभा बारला बारा है। मैं अलीपुरद्वार डिस्ट्रिक्ट से बिलोंग करती हूँ। मेरा वहीं जन्म गार्डन में हुआ है, तो एजुकेशन भी मेरा वहीं पर ही हुआ है। कोलकाता में मैंने कल ग्रेजुएशन करना कंप्लीट हुआ है। बाकी बात मेरा ये सोच था कि हम किस तरह से जब आए हम माहौल में, खुद मेरा ये इच्छा था कि हम कैसे उन लोगों को वो हर सुविधा, क्योंकि ये टी गार्डन में महिलाएं जो होती है वो पढ़ी लिखी नहीं है, उन लोगों का ऐसा हालत है कि हमको खुद उसका फिंगर पकड़ के स्टैम्प हम करवाए हैं। तो इस क्षेत्र में हम देखे जब सूचना प्रेरणा से हम उसमें ज्वाइन हुए, उसमें लगा कि हमें इनके लिए हम कुछ कर सकते हैं। तो वही चीज मैंने किया। महिलाओं को वहां पर डर था कि हम जैसा सुविधा हम लोग को सर ने हम लोग को दिया कि डिजिटल वो सेवा जेरोक्स वगैरह, पैन कार्ड, आधार कार्ड ऑनलाइन निकालना, वो सब छोटा छोटा जो काम उन लोगों के लिए बहुत ही मतलब महत्व रखा, क्योंकि वो लोग बाहर जाने से डरते थे महिलाएं कि हम लोग कैसे जाए, क्योंकि बाहर अगर थोड़ा निकलेंगे तो वही पेपर वर्क दिखाता है, तो पेपर वर्क से वो लोग डरते थे। तो वही चीज मेरा मोटिव था कि हम कुछ उन लोगों के लिए करें। तो इन जो हम लोग को डिजिटल सेवा उन लोगों को दिए, उससे लोग बहुत खुश है। और अभी टी गार्डन एरिया में जो लेबर होता है उनका ऑनलाइन मेथड आधार से होता है, तो अभी हमको वो डिवाइस दिया गया है। उससे क्या होता है, उन लोग को बहुत ही सुविधा हो रही है, बाहर नहीं निकलना पड़ रहा है, घर बैठे ही मतलब वो लोग वहीं पर आते हैं और सारी सेवाएं वो लोग ग्रहण करते हैं। यही मेरा कहना था।
थैंक यू ओलिवा।
वेलकम।
We'll now hear from Mani Bharti. Mani Bharti is from Pondi, popularly known as Bharti. Bharti is part of the Women Wireless Project and has been working to train women, and they've trained over 33 women in becoming wireless engineers. She's going to tell us about her journey and how it has impacted the community.
Hi, I am Bharati from Pondicherry. I am a coordinator for Women Wireless Engineers in Auroville, which is around 10 kilometers from Pondi. It is interior to Pondi. And we are working with women who has finished their college and graduated, but still doesn't work. They are a housewife. We selected the need assessment whether they want to learn the wireless communications and want to have devices. So on the basis of that criteria, we selected the women. 3 women we selected, and we have trained them in devices which for communications, and that also has been installed by one of our master trainer, I mean the women. And they trained around 30 volunteers, and the 30 volunteers also from the village people, village women. The women networking kind of thing, and it's so very strong about selecting women in this and we have set CIS center which will help financial so that they can future wishes which they want to life and everything. Also,
space where we find the students and develop their skills in areas like STEM, science, technology. Likewise, we are repeating the same in the village, so that for all the process we are doing, we are going to schools and releasing the parents as well as the children as well as the teachers, so that they can know we are the same. They can send their school students and the experiment creatively. That's how we work in college.
Thank you, Bharti. Thank you. In the first few panels today, we spoke so much about issues of caste, about economic disempowerment. One of the things that DF's work focuses a lot on is gender, is on seeing within an underprivileged community who are the categories that are being left out even when facilities are arriving. So, in a way, the panel that we have in front of us today are people who represent that aspect of DEF's work. And every time I hear these stories, I feel so inspired about how much further we can go when we have the right people joining together and working together. अब मैं किरण को इंट्रोड्यूस करूंगी. किरण झारखंड से है और जब मैं इनके बारे में पढ़ रही थी तो मैंने पढ़ा कि ये रांची के पास काम करते हैं. और सबसे पहले मैंने बोला मैं रांची में पैदा हुई थी because it was such a joy to me to meet someone that I have who is so familiar to me because I grew up with people, surrounded by people like Kiran. फिर मैंने किरण से पूछा कि आज तुम कौन सी कहानी सुनाना चाहती हो, और किरण ने मुझे कहा कि हम 2017 से काम कर रहे हैं, हमें बहुत साल हो गए हैं डीएफ के साथ जुड़े हुए, लेकिन जब इंडिया में लॉकडाउन लगा तब सबसे ज्यादा हमको एहसास हुआ कि हमारा काम हम किस तरह से डिजिटल एम्पावरमेंट का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं लोगों की उस वक्त में मदद करने में जबकि सब कुछ उनसे छूट रहा था. तो किरण हमें उस दौर के बारे में बताएंगी.
सबों को मेरा जोहार. मेरा नाम है किरण देवी. मेरा गांव का नाम है बदरभंगा. जिला रांची से बिलोंग करती हूँ, झारखंड. 2017 में हम सूचना प्रेन्योर में जुड़े. मेरा सीनियर सुरेश राम का देन है जो यहाँ आने का मौका मिला, इसलिए सबों को धन्यवाद देती हूँ और मेरा जो सीनियर सर है उनको भी धन्यवाद करती हूँ. जब कोविड-19 लगा उस टाइम हमको यहीं से ये जो टेब है यहीं से मिला है. तो कोरोना का अथी लगा उस टाइम प्रचार के लिए कभी दीवार लेखन करते थे और इसी से हम मेरा ग्रुप था, ग्रुप में हम सबको व्हाट्सएप करते थे और जो नहीं देखते थे उनका घर जाते थे. सबको बोलते थे कि कोरोना में घूमने आती है, सबको प्रचार कर देगी और सबको फैलाएगी और सबको मराएगी कह के. तो हम कहते थे कि वैसा कोई बात नहीं है, सब कोई ठीक रहिएगा, हम भी ठीक रहेंगे. जैसा है नियम उसका पालन कीजिए, सब कोई ठीक ठाक रहेंगे कह के. तो एक दिन कुछ 1 किलोमीटर की एक महिला थी, उसका वज्रपात के कारण ठनका लगा था. तो सब कोई बोल रहे हैं कि तुम उसके साथ में हॉस्पिटल मत जाओ. तो हम बोले काहे नहीं जाएंगे, उसका जान का थी है, अगर हम नहीं जाते हैं तो मर जाएगी कह के. तो सबको मेरा परिवार में भी बोल रहे हैं तुम कहाँ मरने चली है उसका साथ में, वो तो मरबे करेगी लेकिन तुम भी मरेगी साथ में. तो हम बोले नहीं मरेंगे, हम जा रहे हैं. बाद में 108 में कॉल किए गाड़ी आया और गाड़ी मेरा ही घर में आया और बोल रहा है कि आप कौन है। हम बोले गांव का एक महिला है, महिला का सेवा करना है, अगर आप नहीं आइएगा तो महिला मर जाएगी कह के। तो सबको बोलने लगी कि कौन जाएगा उसका साथ में, कोई नहीं जाएगा, सो तुमको जाना है तो जाओ। गांव का भी लोग बोलने लगे और मेरा हस्बैंड बाल बच्चा सब बोलने लगे कि तुम कहाँ चली कह के। तो हम बोले हम जा रहे हैं, आपस आएंगे और ठीक ठाक आएंगे कह के। तो इसी तरह फिर गए, मेरा जांच हुआ, उसका भी जांच हुआ, जिसको लेके गए थे उसका भी जांच हुआ, तो कुछ नहीं निकला। जांच करवाए, उसके बाद एक दिन तक रुके वहां। पंचायत में जो मुखिया है हम लोग का, वो मुखिया हमको फोन किए कि आप जांच करवाए हैं, आपका पॉजिटिव निकला है, सो आप तो घर नहीं आ सकते हैं, सो आपको कहाँ रखा जाएगा। हम बोले हम जांच करवाए हैं, हॉस्पिटल में है, हमको ऐसा कुछ कमी महसूस नहीं हुआ है, ना डॉक्टर हमको कुछ जवाब दिए हैं कि आपका कोरोना है कह के। तो सही में, तो हम बोले हाँ सही में, हमको ऐसा कुछ नहीं मिला है जवाब।
जब ये काल खत्म हो गया, जब 2021 में कोरोना खत्म हुआ, तो लोगों ने आपसे आकर किस तरह से कहा कि आपके जो काम है, आपके काम से उनको किस तरह की मदद मिली थी?
पहले हमने प्रचार किया, जब इधर से बताया गया कि आप वैक्सीन के लिए खबर कीजिए सबको और दिलवाए और प्रचार कीजिए कह के, तो उसी टाइम हमने प्रचार किए, तो सबको बोलने लगी कि अच्छा इसके बारे में इसको जानकारी है, बता रही है, तो कहे नहीं इसी को कहते हैं, दूसरा को नहीं कहेंगे कह के। तो इसी तरह मेरा एरिया लगभग 1500 के आसपास में, मेरा गांव के आसपास में 1500 एरिया है, तो सबको जानने लगी। तो फिर दूसरा गांव की थी ना, वो सब बोलने लगी कि उसको देखे हैं, सो व्हाट्सएप में डालते रहती है और कभी कभी किसी को फोन भी करती है कह के। तो उसी में बोलने लगे। दूसरा पंचायत की थी, मेरा पंचायत छोड़ के दूसरा पंचायत।
तो एक किरण का काम देखकर बहुत सारे लोग जो थे उन पर भी प्रभाव पड़ रहा था, उनको भी ताकत मिली आपके काम से।
तो फिर वैसा ही मेरा मुखिया बोलने लगे कि आपका तो पॉजिटिव हो गया है। तो हम बोले वैसा कुछ बात नहीं है, हम वापस आएंगे और सही सलामत रहेंगे,
और हम देख रहे हैं कि आप सही सलामत आए हैं।
जी। उसके बाद में फिर जब वैक्सीन लेने का बारी आया, तो सबको बोल रहे हैं कि वैक्सीन तो हम लोग ठीक ठाक हैं तो काहे लेंगे। हम बोले ठीक ठाक है और ठीक रहना है इसलिए लेना है कह के। तो
ये कहानी तो एक तरह से पूरे देश में इसी तरह से हर जगह हुआ। और आपसे मिलकर हमें पता चल रहा है कि जो लोग उस समय जमीन से जुड़े हुए थे, लोगों के साथ काम कर रहे थे, उनको कितनी दिक्कतें आई, है ना?
बहुत सारी दिक्कतें आई।
तो किरण, अब हम हर्षिता से पूछते हैं उसके इलाके के बारे में। ठीक, या आपको कुछ अपनी बात खत्म करनी है तो आप कर दीजिए।
जी
ठीक, तो आपसे हम फिर बात करेंगे। ठीक। This is really the power of the case study. And when I was listening to Kiran, I was reminded of Priya's comment to Osama about leaps of faith. When we listen to real stories, we find there are so many moments when we do actually take a leap of faith. And that's all that guides us. किरण, हम लोग सब इसी बात पे ताली बजा रहे हैं कि कैसे हम आपकी कहानी आपसे खुद सुन पाए हैं अभी। Thank you. Harshita is from Andhra Pradesh, and Harshita is a network engineer with DEF. She's got her own very unique story, her personal story, as well as that which connects her with the community. And we'll now hear from you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Harshita from Chirala. I'm working as a network engineer since 2 years in DEF. In my village, we have fisherman community. In that community project, I'm working as a network engineer. There is 3 locations is there. One is Panchayat, school, and fisherman community house. So in fisherman community house, we are arranging one hotspot zone. everyone is coming and using the internet for the purpose of the selling fishes on the social sites like WhatsApp, Facebook, Insta. By using social sites, they are selling the fishes. And schools also they are using for digital classes for internet, and panchayat also using for our internet for the project. And also I'm working in Smartpur. In Smartpur we have 10 villages is there. There is like a CSC centers is there 10. I'm going there and collecting beer data when beneficiaries are coming for governance and health camps. We are conducting governance camps and finance and also education, career counseling. We are conducting the lots of the programs to helpful to peoples.
And when you watch your work grow and when you watch the impact on the community, how does it affect you?
Actually,
what has it changed for you?
When I was done my education, I'm joining the DF. It's very lucky to me because of I'm working as a NGO. In everyone, they don't get this kind of chance to help peoples and society. I'm very grateful to working here.
Thank you. Thank you. We're now going to move to North India. मेरे पास बैठी हैं बबीता. बबीता एक award winner है, and that is really how I must introduce her. In 2021, Babita was awarded the Sunanda Bhandare Award for Women Achievement. And Babita, in an area where women's education is very, very low priority, this is the Mewat area of Haryana. She's from Nuh, which is right next to Gurgaon. But a huge contrast to the skyscrapers of Gurgaon. In that area, Babita has not only passed her class 10, she went on to study over the years of her association with DEF and has completed her MA. So Babita is a role model of sorts for her entire community, for even people who don't know her but have heard of her. कि बबीता ने कर लिया है तो हमारी बेटी क्यों नहीं करेगी? अब हम बबीता से सुनेंगे कि जब अवार्ड मिला तो तुमने क्या महसूस किया और तुम्हें क्या लगता है कि तुम्हारी अपनी ग्रोथ, तुम्हारी अपनी पढ़ाई और डीएफ का काम किस तरह से जुड़ा रहा?
नमस्ते सभी को, मेरा नाम बबीता है और मैं हरियाणा के डिस्ट्रिक्ट नूह मेवात से एक छोटा सा गांव है बीमा, वहां की रहने वाली हूँ। हमारे जैसा भी आपको कुछ लोगों को पता होगा कि मेवात में जो शिक्षा का स्तर है वो बहुत ही ज्यादा कम है और लड़कियों में तो बिल्कुल लो ही है, कुछ ही % है। तो ऐसे एरिया में रहकर मैंने MA की पढ़ाई की तो बीच में अड़चने तो आई होंगी, कोई ना कोई मुश्किल तो आई होंगी, ऐसे ही इतना पार नहीं कर लिया। तो मैंने 10th तक तो हमारे पास ही था क्योंकि गांव में तो 5वीं तक क्लास है। तो मैंने सरकारी स्कूल था, वहाँ पढ़ाई बहुत कम होती थी। तो शुरू में हमारा जो दादाजी हैं वो 10वीं पास है तो थोड़ा बहुत शिक्षा के बारे में जानते हैं, तो उन्होंने मेरा एडमिशन पास के गांव में करा दिया जो कि 2-3 किलोमीटर दूर पड़ता है। तो मैंने LKG से पैदल जाती थी, पैदल आती थी। पहले मैं बिल्कुल अकेली थी, तो उस टाइम ऐसा हुआ बचपन में ही, मैं बहुत छोटी थी तो अकेली जाने के कारण मैं रास्ता भटक गई और पहाड़ों की तरफ चढ़ने लगी स्कूल जाने के बजाय। धुंध थी उस टाइम, सर्दियों का मौसम था। तो उस काफी टाइम की बात हो गई, उस टाइम जमाना कुछ और था, लेकिन आज का जमाना कुछ और है। शायद मुझे 2 व्यक्ति ना मिलते और वो आज के जमाने में मिलते तो कुछ और होता। तो उस टाइम मुझे 2 व्यक्ति मिले थे, उन्होंने मुझे बताया कि आप गलत रास्ते से जा रही हो। तो मैं स्कूल की तरफ वो मुझे छोड़ के गए, तो मैंने घर आके बताया तो सच में बहुत, मेरे पापा ने बहुत सोचा कि फिर अगर आज ऐसा होता तो मेरी बेटी जाने कहाँ होती। तो उस टाइम शुरुआत में तो ये मुश्किलें थी मेरे अकेली के कारण, लड़के भी नहीं जाते थे, लड़के भी बहुत कम पढ़ते थे। फिर मैंने पापा ने साइकिल ली जैसे तैसे करके, फिर साइकिल से छोड़ना लाना आ तो मैं खुद जाती थी लेकिन वो छोड़ के आते थे। तो फिर मैंने ऐसे 10th पास कर लिया, तो 11th में लोग बोलने लगे कि अब छोड़ी बड़ी हो गई है, अब शादी कर दो, आगे मत पढ़ाओ, जमाना खराब है, ये है वो है। तो फिर पापा ने उनकी बातें मान ली, मुझे घर बैठा लिया। घर बैठा कर 6 महीने तक मेरा एडमिशन नहीं करवाया, और बच्चे जाते थे, मेरे बहन भाई जो छोटी क्लासों में पढ़ते थे, मैं बहुत रोती थी क्योंकि मुझे आगे पढ़ना था। मैंने 11th के लिए बहुत सपने सजा रखे थे कि मैं ये करूंगी वो करूंगी। फिर बाद में 6 महीने तक पापा के सामने रोई, पापा को कुछ असर नहीं हुआ। तो फिर मैंने सोचा कि दादाजी के पास जाती हूँ, शायद वो ही मेरा कुछ सुन ले। फिर मैं दादाजी के पास गई, उन्होंने मेरी सुनी और मेरा रोना उन्हें देखा नहीं गया, तो मेरा एडमिशन नूह में, जो कि हमारा बाजार लगता 5-6 किलोमीटर दूर है, वहां पे मेरा एडमिशन करा दिया। तो जैसे तैसे मैं उस टाइम पे सिलाई करती थी, मेहंदी लगाती थी हल्की थोड़ी बहुत, तो उससे कुछ पैसे आते थे, उससे मेरा किराया हो जाता था और फीस भी भर जाती थी। फिर आगे मैंने
तुम्हें एक दिन आरिफ भाई मिले है ना, जिन्होंने डीएफ के बारे में कुछ बताया और कुछ तुमने देखा, तो वो बताओ।
हाँ, वो फिर आरिफ सर मिले, जो कि इस वक्त हमारे बीच नहीं है। कोविड के दौरान वो हमें छोड़ के चले गए। और उस टाइम आरिफ सर ने एक दूरदर्शन से कुछ चैनल वाले आए थे, तो उन्होंने मेरा इंटरव्यू लिया, क्योंकि हिंदू मुस्लिम हमारा हिंदू का एक ही घर है उस गांव में, तो इस वजह से उन्होंने इंटरव्यू लिया था। तो उस दौरान मेरी उनसे मुलाकात हुई, तो जैसे भी उन्होंने मेरा पूछा क्या करते हो क्या, मैंने बताया, तो जो डीएफ है उस में एक प्रोजेक्ट आया था डिजिटल सार्थक। तो जो हमारा जैसे भी मेवात में पढ़ी लिखी लड़कियां नहीं है, तो उन्हें मेरा ख्याल आया, क्योंकि उस टाइम पे फोन चलाना के बारे में कुछ जानना था। तो मैंने पढ़ाई तो कर ली, लेकिन फोन चलाना नहीं आता था। लड़कियों को हमारे वहाँ फोन नहीं देते, लड़के रखते हैं फोन, पर लड़कियों को नहीं दिया जाता। तो आरिफ सर ने मुझसे बात की, फिर मैंने बोला हाँ सर कर लूंगी, कुछ हिचकिचाहट थी। फिर उन्होंने मुझे फोन दिया और फोन के बारे में सारा कुछ बताया। फिर उसी दौरान मैंने डिजिटल सार्थक में 100 महिलाओं को, जो उन्होंने मुझे सिखाया व्हाट्सएप चलाना, फेसबुक चलाना और भी बहुत कुछ बातें बताई, तो मैंने उन 100 महिलाओं को ट्रेनिंग दी। काफी मुश्किल थी, वो आती थी चली जाती थी और रुकती नहीं थी। शुरुआत में बहुत परेशानी आई, लेकिन घर घर जाके भी ज्यादा नहीं तो 20-30% तो लेडीजों को समझ आया, 50-60% तो समझ आया। लेकिन उन्होंने भी वो काम सीख कर और बहुत कुछ दूसरे लोगों को भी सिखाया। फिर बाद में उन्होंने डिजिटल सार्थक का मुझे काम दे दिया, उसमें पैसे मिलते थे कुछ। फिर उन्हीं के दौरान एक वो इंटरव्यू हुआ मेरा, वो लेके आए थे, नमिता भंडारे नाम की मैम थी, वो दिल्ली से आई थी, तो उन्होंने मेरा इंटरव्यू लिया।
उनको जानते हैं ना, इसलिए खुश हो रहे हैं।
उन्होंने इंटरव्यू लिया कि वो बोल रहे थे कि कई बच्चियों का इंटरव्यू लिया था, लेकिन मेरी जो स्टोरी थी वो उन्हें अच्छी लगी। शायद इसी कारण से मुझे उस सम्मान दिया गया। मुझे 50,000 का अमाउंट और एक सर्टिफिकेट दिया गया, जो 2000 वो उस टाइम पे 3-4 साल की बात हो गई। उस टाइम पे 50,000 बहुत होते हैं। मैंने एक बाजार में प्लॉट ली कुछ पैसे मिलाकर, वो सही लगा मुझे उस टाइम पे, क्योंकि प्लॉट की अब उस टाइम पे कुछ और था, अब 2-3 गुना वो बढ़ गई है उसकी कीमत। फिर अब उन्होंने मुझे ये
अवार्ड भी मिला, कॉन्फिडेंस भी मिला, है ना।
और फिर बाकी ये अवार्ड के कारण काफी लोगों को असर भी पड़ा, क्योंकि जैसे हमारे वहाँ बांधे कुछ मिलता है, तो अब उनको भी ये लगा कि ये लड़की इतना कुछ कर सकती है, तो हम भी अपनी बच्चियों को पढ़ाएंगे, वो भी कुछ करेंगे, उन्हें भी पैसे मिलेंगे। और फिर वो मुझे देख देख कर कि उसकी बच्ची भी तो पढ़ रही है, तो हमारी बच्ची क्यों नहीं पढ़ सकती। फिर ऐसे गांव में काफी शिक्षा का स्तर बढ़ा और आज इस लेवल पे है कि सब हमारे जो लड़कियां पढ़ रही है वो 10th +2 से ऊपर है। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू बबीता।
एक समय पे अपनी बात बताते बताते आंखें भर रही थी और तुम्हें देखकर हमारी भी भर रही थी। पर बहुत बहुत धारस मिलता है दूसरे की कहानी सुनकर, और इतनी अच्छे से जब वो सुनाते हैं, इतनी हिम्मत से सुनाते हैं। अतैया राजस्थान से हैं। उनकी कहानी कोई बहुत अलग नहीं है। अतैया मुझे बता रही थी, जब हमारे इलाके में कोई जब मुझे लगता है कि नाइंसाफी हो रही तो मुझसे रुका नहीं जाता। हालांकि वहाँ औरतों को घर से निकलना ठीक नहीं माना जाता, लड़कियों को जाता है, लेकिन मुझसे रुका नहीं जाता। कभी कभी 100 लड़के होते हैं और एक लड़की होती है, वो मैं हूँ। और कितने स्ट्रगल्स के बाद ये बात बताने के लिए वो यहाँ तक पहुंची है। इस सफर के बारे में तैयार उनको बताऊंगी, और जो उन्होंने कॉपी रखी है वो कुछ पोएट्री उसको शेयर करूंगी।
सभी को नमस्कार। मैं भरतपुर राजस्थान की रहने वाली हूँ और मेरा नाम अतैया है। तो वैसे तो मेरा एजुकेशन का जो स्तर है वो फैमिली पूरी एजुकेटेड है, कभी उसमें इतनी दिक्कत नहीं आई। सिर्फ अगर कहीं पक्षपात मिला तो वो लड़के और लड़की के लिए मिला, थोड़ा सा समाज में, फैमिली में नहीं मिला मुझे। और बहुत सारे इश्यूज आते हैं, दो धर्मों के बीच आ जाते हैं या फीमेल और मेल के बीच आ जाते हैं, तो उनमें मुझे स्कूल की ओर से ही पार्टिसिपेट करने की बहुत अच्छी ख्वाहिश थी। मेरे टीचर्स थे जो हमेशा आगे रखते थे और इस वजह से मुझे आदत सी हो गई थी। शायद इसी वजह से मैं आज हर उसमें पार्टिसिपेट करती आई हूँ। जैसे आसिफा हत्याकांड हुआ था तो हमने कैंडल मार्च में निकाला था और उसमें सभी बॉयज थे, ओनली मैं अकेली गर्ल्स थी। फैमिली की ओर से कुछ इश्यूज आए थे, लेकिन मैंने अपने आप को आगे बढ़ने के लिए कदम उठाया। तो मेरी कहानी सिर्फ यही है कि मैं ज्यादातर आपको कविता के रूप में अपनी बात को समझाऊंगी। ना करो बहस, हार जाओगे, हुस्न इतनी बड़ी दलील नहीं। हाथ की लकीरों, सितारों की चाल और तोते की फाल पढ़कर फेंकने वाले दलाइल पेश करने की बजाय हमें किस्से और कहानियां सुनाएंगे। लेकिन मैं ये कहती हूँ कि कामयाबी किस्मत से नहीं, मेहनत से मिलती है। क्योंकि इंसान चांद पर कदम रखने में कामयाब हुआ तो वजह किस्मत नहीं, मेहनत थी। इंसान लाखों टन वजन को हवा में उड़ाने में कामयाब हुआ तो वजह किस्मत नहीं, मेहनत थी। और जिस तरह से डिजिटल एम्पावरमेंट आज जिस मुकाम पर पहुंचा है तो वजह ओसामा सर की किस्मत नहीं, मेहनत थी। क्योंकि ओसामा सर ने डिजिटल एम्पावरमेंट की फाउंडेशन की जब नींव रखी तो सर ने ना जाने कितना त्याग किया होगा, और इसी कारण डिजिटल एम्पावरमेंट फाउंडेशन इस रूप में उभर के आया है। क्योंकि फूल यूं ही खिला नहीं करते, बीज को दफन होना पड़ता है। मैं आपसे यही कहना चाहती हूँ कि हम इंसान के रूप में जन्म लिया है तो कुछ सिर्फ दौलत कमाना ही हमारा कर्म नहीं होता। कुछ ऐसे कर्म करो जो दुनिया हमारे जाने के बाद हमें याद करे। क्योंकि ठिकाना कब्र है तो कर्म कुछ तो कर इंसान। रिवायत ये है कि खाली हाथ किसी के घर जाया नहीं करते। आज के दौर में ज्यादातर लोग पैसे के पीछे भागते हुए मैंने देखा है, तो उसके बारे में भी कुछ पंक्तियां हैं। कोई दौलत की चाह में रोया, कोई दौलत की राह में रोया, अजीब है ये दौलत है मोहब्बत का सिलसिला। कोई दौलत खो के रोया तो कोई दौलत पा के रोया। अच्छा, मेरे कहने का उद्देश्य सिर्फ ये है कि हमारी जिंदगी का, मेरी जिंदगी का असल मकसद सिर्फ पैसा कमाना नहीं है, साथ में नाम कमाना भी है। मैं अपनी सोसाइटी, अपने गांव, अपने परिवार के लिए क्या कर सकती हूँ। और
अच्छा, मैं उसके बारे में सवाल पूछती हूँ तुमसे। कविता के माध्यम से जो तुमने बताया वो तो एक बहुत ही खूबसूरत अंदाज है। सब लोग जो बात कर रहे हैं उसको तुमने कविता में कहा। तुम एक सूचना प्रेन्योर हो, है ना, डीएफ में। तो थोड़ा सा हमारे ऑडियंस को बताओ कि तुम्हारा दिनचर्या क्या होता है एज ए सूचना प्रेन्योर के तौर पर। तुम क्या क्या काम करती हो और उसका क्या असर देखती हो तुम?
मेरा काम ये कि गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स जो होती हैं और फाइनेंशियल स्कीम्स और टेलीमेडिसिन
के द्वारा लोगों को सेवाएं देना, गवर्नमेंट स्कीम में जैसे जन आधार निकाल कर भी देना या उसमें कुछ भी करेक्शन करना या न्यू जन आधार कार्ड बनाना। और राजस्थान सरकार की ओर से चिरंजीवी बीमा योजना चल रहा है जिसमें 10 लाख 25 लाख रुपए तक का फ्री इलाज किया जाता है, तो उसमें लोगों का रजिस्ट्रेशन करना। और दूसरा ये कि पेंशन वगैरह अप्लाई करना और ईयरली जो वेरिफिकेशन होता है पेंशन का लोगों को वो करना, ये सारी गवर्नमेंट स्कीम के तहत आती हैं। और फाइनेंशियल कंडीशन में पैन कार्ड वगैरह अप्लाई करना और बीमा पॉलिसी के लिए लोगों को गाइड करना अगर कोई कराना चाहे तो। और लोन
तो
वगैरह
इसका असर तुमने क्या देखा? अगर तुम
इसका असर ये है कि पहले लोग बहुत डरते थे या फिर उनसे पैसा मांगा जाता था, कहीं बाहर वो तहसील वगैरह में जाते थे तो कुछ लोगों के साथ उनको सही न्याय नहीं मिला, अपना पैसा भी दिया उन्होंने कहीं पे और उनके जो काम था वो भी नहीं हो पाया। अब वो सीधे आते हैं, खासतौर पे बुजुर्ग और जो महिलाएं हैं क्योंकि वो घर से बाहर नहीं जा पाते, अब बहुत सारी कंडीशंस होती हैं उनके सामने, तो मेरे सेंटर पे आके वो बहुत आराम से अपना काम करवा सकते हैं। और
ये बहुत बड़ी बात है
जी। और कुछ सवाल?
नहीं, अब मैं बात करती हूँ रंजीता से
जी
और फिर हम देखते हैं हमारे पास कितना वक्त है। थैंक यू सो मच। Ranjita is a neighbor. She's from Kollegal, which is the Chamarajanagar district of Karnataka, the closest to us. And Ranjita runs a Smart Poor Center in her village. And she's going to tell us about the impact of the Smart Poor Center, how it has changed the community.
Hello, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ.
It's okay.
ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ರಂಜಿನಿ, ನಾನು ಕೌದಲಿ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಇಂದ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ನಮ್ದು ಅಪ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ 10 ಇದೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸಬ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ 9, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಂದು ಕೌದಲಿ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಇಂದ ನಾವು ಬಂದಿರೋದು. ನಮ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಹಲವಾರು ವರ್ಕ್ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಿ ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ಗೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್, ಗವರ್ನೆನ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೆಲ್ತ್, ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್, ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ನಾವು ಯಾವ ವಿಲೇಜ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಭೇಟಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಕ್ಯಾಂಪ್ ರೀತಿ ಇದು ಪ್ರೊವೈಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಅದಾದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಸ್ಪಿಟಲ್ ಇಲ್ವೋ ಆ ರೀತಿ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ಗೆ BP, ಶುಗರ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಚೆಕ್ಅಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಮತ್ತೆ governance only PAN card.
And in terms of livelihood, what do you feel the difference has been since you started working in terms of women's livelihood around you?
ನೀವು ಈ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಲೋಕಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವೇ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರದು ಜೀವನ ಹೆಂಗ್ ಸುಧಾರಿಸಿದೆ?
ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕೌದಲಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇನು ಎಜುಕೇಟ್ ಯಾರು ಇಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್, ಎಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ಎಜುಕೇಟೆಡ್ ಪೀಪಲ್. ನಮ್ದು ಸೈಬರ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಓಪನ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಿದೀವಿ, ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲ ದೂರದಿಂದ ಇರೋರ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಕ್ಕಪಕ್ಕಗೆಲ್ಲ ಇವಾಗ ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಸೈಬರ್ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿಂದ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ವರ್ಕು ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೀವಿ. ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಾರ್ಡ್, ವೋಟರ್ ID, ಆಧಾರ್ ನೇಮ್ ಕರೆಕ್ಷನ್, ಡೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಬರ್ತ್ ಕರೆಕ್ಷನ್, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಾರ್ಡ್, ಆಧಾರ್ ಲಿಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ವರ್ಕು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೀವಿ.
Thank you. And I think we are going to get a translation.
Actually, Ranjita belongs to Tamil family actually. Even before this session, she wanted to talk in Tamil, but I told Kannada is okay. But anyhow, she can talk in Tamil. Tamil ನಿಂಗೆ ಬೇಸಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇವರು ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಮಗು ಇನ್ನ 1 ವರ್ಷನೂ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಎಷ್ಟು ತಿಂಗಳಿದೆ ಈಗ? 9-month-old female babies they have. ಸೊ ಅವರನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ಇವರು ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆದಾಗ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಇವರು ಎಜುಕೇಟೆಡ್, ಇವನ್ ಇವರು ಹಸ್ಬೆಂಡ್ ಕೂಡ ಎಜುಕೇಟೆಡ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ತಮಿಳ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ಇರೋದು, ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಹೊರಗೆ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ಕೆಲ್ಸಕ್ಕೆ, ಜಮೀನಲ್ಲೇ ಕೆಲಸ ಇದ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಇದೆ.
Tell us in English.
Okay. Okay. She belongs to Tamil family. Even her husband also educated, but majority of the Tamil families actually they are they are practicing agriculture. But now she directly meet to the up center and she told she willing to start a center because already earlier we started one center in Ramapur, that is in a neighbor village. Then we decided, okay, she can, because of the education, she will learn. So she have taken so much of training. Now she is giving so much of services on governance, finance, health, and education. So now the condition of the livelihood is better for Ranjita, and as well as the particular village called Kaudalli. Muslims families are more there, even Tamil is also more there. So the service, because there is no bank, only one cooperative bank was there, even there is no ATM center at all. Because if they want to withdraw any money, they need to go 15-20 kilometers to withdraw money. Now the peoples are very happy. She is giving good services. That's what she is telling.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Our friend Kiran has a flight to catch, and Abner came to remind us on the stage. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful audience. Thank you to the panelists जिन्होंने इतने दिल से अपनी कहानी सुनाई और truly the picture of what DF is doing in those 10,000 villages plus of India is something that begins to emerge when we hear stories of people who are coming from those villages. Thank you very much, and thank you all.
Thank you, Natasha, and आप सबका बहुत-बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ आज आने के लिए. The next session is a musical performance by Vasu Dikshit, and I would like to ask Shobhita to introduce him, please.
Most of the Bangaloreans must be very, very familiar with Vasu and his music. Yeah. So Vasu's open-throated voice is a free-spirited celebration of life, whether he sings with his band BDC, Swaratma, or on his own. He's a composer, a musician, and a filmmaker. And he brings in equal measure his craft, and he brings across many nuances of art into one space. So we extend a very, very warm welcome to Vasu Dikshit. And or the setup, please. Thanks.
Can I please ask the people sitting at the back to come to the front seat and enjoy the show even more? Please fill up the front seats, everybody.
A warm welcome to Vasu Dikshit.
I don't need, you might need. Yeah. You need light on me. Yes. Good evening, everybody. Okay, it's been a long evening. Let's try again. Good evening, everyone. Much better. Thank you for watching world famous musician in Bangalore. So I call myself, I'm world famous in Bangalore. So I'd like, I don't know, I know it's been long. I won't talk much. I am better singing, I think. At a time when everybody's sharing links of click this link and win that, click this link and buy that, click this link to be fortunate. We are also kind of forgetting how we are linked into this nature and things. So this first song that I'm going to sing is actually a poem by Mamta Sagar. How many of you understand Kannada? Oh, okay. Sorry, sir. I forgot in the Kannada. So for those who do not understand Kannada, I will try to do a little bit of transmission from the above. This poem is called Nadi Olage, which means inside the river. So she says, in the river, I see the reflection of the sky, the sun, and the clouds. I see them, the sky, the cloud, and the cold sun. I take this water in my hand and I take them all, the sun, the sky, the cloud. I throw this water in the air and in each drop I see them, the sun, the sky, the cloud. These water droplets fall on me and they all fall on me, the sun, the sky, the cloud. I take this water again in my hand and I drink them all, the sun, the sky, the cloud. Now tell me, who is inside whom? Now tell me, who is inside whom? Nadiyolage. Check. Give the reverb, please. Effects is on. Surya
ಚಿದರೆ ಹನಿ ಹನಿಯಾಗಿ ಚೆಲ್ಲುವುದು ಚಿದರೆ ಹನಿ ಹನಿಯಾಗಿ ಚೆಲ್ಲುವುದು ಆಕಾಶ ಸೂರ್ಯ ಆಕಾಶ ಸೂರ್ಯ se ನೀನು ಇದರ ಕುಡಿದಂತೆ se ಕುಡಿದಂತೆ ಆಕಾಶ ಸೂರ್ಯರ ನದಿ ಆಕಾಶ ಸೂರ್ಯರ ನದಿಯೊಳಗೆ ಆಕಾಶ ಸೂರ್ಯ ಆ ಸೂರ್ಯ
We all have witnessed probably one of the toughest times of our lives, generations. Any guesses? The IPL? No. Sorry. Of course, that also. So this song is about those tough times in our lives and also a reminder to continue to live even in the times are tough. This one's called Mushkil Mein Jeena, and it's also something that I perform with my band, Swaratma. Anyone heard of Swaratma? Okay, not bad. 4.5 people. Okay, this one's called Mushkil Mein Jeena. के मौसम में फूलों की खुशबू को चुनते रहो, नवंबर के सांसों में उम्मीद को जगाते रहो, मुश्किल में जीना न भूलो, कोई गीत सुनते रहो, सुना रहो। पत्थर के सीने में दिल की सुरंगे बनाते रहो, गहरे से पानी में हस्ती रंगे उठाते रहो, मुश्किल जीना न भूलो, गीत गाते रहो, लगा रहो। आएंगे रंगों के सजाएंगे, आएंगे जीने सीने में लिपटी सुरंगे बनाते रहो, गहरे से पानी में हस्ती तरंगे उठाते रहो, कांटों के मौसम में फूलों की खुशबू को चुनते रहो, मुश्किल में जीना न भूलो। हाँ जी सर। अरे सुनने वाले कहीं भी हो, कान चाहिए बस। चलिए थोड़ा मस्ती करते हैं। लाइन के बाद आप बोल के जय हो जय हो। कृष्णा मोबाइल हो हमारे वीडियो बनेगी जब बोलते हैं नहीं बनाते, हम जब बोलते हैं बनाओ नहीं बनाते। हमारा वीडियो बनाइए 30 सेकंड इंस्टाग्राम में आप डाल दीजिए और हैंडल दीक्षित हम और आप अरे फोन की चार्ज है बनाइए वीडियो और हमको फेमस माला पे माला जपना, माल को अंदर करना। डिजिटल डिजिटल जहां पर जो भी है अपना सोच रहे होंगे ये दाढ़ी वाला क्या पागल है? संत कबीर मर के धरती पे कैसे आया? संत कबीर धरती पे कैसे आया? क्या आप तैयार हैं? हमारे साथ गाएंगे कबीर को खिलाएंगे। गायिका मैडम हिंदी है, हिंदी है राष्ट्रभाषा है नहीं। अरे संत कबीर आ गया है। जी हाँ, देखो नौजवान, दिल में है, तुम्हारे मन में है संत कबीर। जी हाँ, हम सब में है संत कबीर। डिजिटलाइजेशन है, उन्होंने हमें अंधा बना दिया है, अंधा बना दिया है। तो घर जाके सोचेगा कि संत कबीर है कहाँ। तो संत कबीर आए धरती पे कि 500 साल में बदला। जीने के लिए जो जरूरी है वो पोशाक बदली है, पर इंसान नहीं बदला। डर वही है, डर का सामान नहीं बदला है। पहले चलती थी तलवार की धार, अब चलती है गोलियों की बौछार, कुछ नहीं बदला है। तो कुछ नौजवान भैया संत कबीर हमें भी बनना है। अब नौजवानों को उनकी भाषा में समझाना पड़ता है। किंगफिशर भी, कल्याणी ब्लैक लेबल भी, ये सब बनता है पर कभी बनता नहीं। पूछते हैं से आ गया। हमें किसी ने बोला पीते रे पीते देश में आ गए चीते, तो मर भी गए। चलिए कोई क्या होता है जब बच्चा ना होता है बच्चा, तो बातें सारी वो नाम नहीं जानता, जाति या दुनियादारी नहीं जानता। जैसे फूल का रस चुलारे कोई खबर लगा दे कोई पैर की मोहर। अरे ये दुनिया को जो बनाती है दीवार और दिमाग पर पैदा तो सभी बंदे थोड़ा सोचेगा। अरे ये दुनिया की दुनियादारी उसने हमें भर दिया है हमारे दिमाग, इसीलिए कभी कोई बनता नहीं। अरे साधो कभी कोई बनता नहीं, कबीर तो होता है बस। माला पे माला जपना, माल को अंदर करना। यीशु अल्लाह और कृष्णा कौन भगवान है अपना। बोलो यीशु अल्लाह और कृष्ण की ताली तो बजा सकते। We'll have that lyrics distributed. Yes, you can just pass it on and then. So this is my election campaign. It's pamphlets with my manifestos for in another week. No, in 6 days. Yeah. How many of you are actually from Bangalore, living in Bangalore? Registered voters. The Election Commission is not paying me for this campaign. I'm just curious. You have figured out which is your constitution, where you're going to vote, whom you're going to vote. No, vote for me. Okay, this is a song in Kannada. I was just adding Tamil. Kannada, da, vada. This is a Purandaradasa song, and I have given my own twist to it. And one side has English, one side has Kannada. Anybody wants Hindi? Just look in between, you might find. Before we sing, we'll do a voice test. Not mine. Ragi. You know what Ragi is, right? Okay. ಅದೊಂದು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೀರ ನೋಡಪ್ಪ. ದೇವೇಗೌಡರಿಗೆ ಜೈ. ರಾಗಿ ರಾಗಿ. ಸರ್ ಒಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅವ್ರದೆಲ್ಲ ವಾಲ್ಯೂಮ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ. ರಾಗಿ 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 ರಾಗಿ. Don't cover your mouth, okay? Sing. Ragi ragi. Don't go on this Indranagar white topping road. You have to go on the regular tar road. Ragi ragi. You've not been in an auto on Bangalore roads? Now you will see after 2 days of rain. Ragi ragi. Practice Hindustani music on Bangalore roads. I want to hear you louder, okay? Otherwise, go zip in the piano. Good words. And glasses. You know, trust me. Trust your Kannada teacher for today, tonight. ಅನ್ನದಾನವ ಮಾಡುವರಾಗಿ ಅನ್ನ ಛತ್ರವನ್ನಿಟ್ಟವರಾಗಿ ಅನ್ನದಾನವ ಮಾಡುವರಾಗಿ ಅನ್ನ ಛತ್ರವನ್ನಿಟ್ಟವರಾಗಿ ಅನ್ಯವಾರ್ತೆಯ ಬಿಟ್ಟವರಾಗಿ ಅನುದಿನ ಭಜನೆಯ ಮಾಡುವರಾಗಿ ರಾಗಿ ತಂದೀರಾ ಭಿಕ್ಷಕರಾಗಿ ತಂದೀರಾ everybody ರಾಗಿ ತಂದೀರಾ all doing okay? What's the second line? Second verse? What is it? Huh? What is it? Read it. Hey, after that, dude, that's what you sang now. You think I don't know? I'm just testing you. ಮಾತಾ ಪಿತರನ್ನು ಸೇವಿಪರಾಗಿ ಪಾಪ ಕರ್ಮವ ಬಿಟ್ಟವರಾಗಿ
ಮಾತಾ ಪಿತರನ್ನು ಸೇವಿಪರಾಗಿ ಪಾಪಕರ್ಮ ಬಿಟ್ಟವರಾಗಿ ರೀತಿಯ ಬಾಳನ್ನು ಬಾಳುವರಾಗಿ ನೀತಿ ಮಾರ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಖ್ಯಾತರಾಗಿ ರಾಗಿ ತಂತೀರ ಭಿಕ್ಷಕರಾಗಿ ತಂತೀರ ರಾಗಿ ತಂತೀರ ಥರ್ಡ್ ವರ್ಸ್ ಕಾಮಕ್ರೋಧವ ಅಳಿದವರಾಗಿ ನೇಮ ನಿತ್ಯವ ಮಾಡುವರಾಗಿ ಕಾಮಕ್ರೋಧವ ಅಳಿದವರಾಗಿ ನೇಮ ನಿತ್ಯವ ಮಾಡುವರಾಗಿ ರಾಮನಾಮವ ಜಪಿಸುವರಾಗಿ ಪ್ರೇಮದಿ ಕುಣಿದಾಡುವರಾಗಿ So in this line, Purandaradasa says, Rama Namava Japisuvaragi. Rama Nama means doesn't have to be the blue painted man. You know, Rama can be anyone. Allah, Yeshu, Guru Nanak, Buddha, Virat Kohli. Deepika Padukone. No. She is wearing the color that I love. So, okay, God can be anyone. Your God is your God, right? My God is my God. Let's all be happy with what we want to worship. So he says, if you take the name of the Lord with utmost devotion, your whole life will become a dance of love. ರಾಮನಾಮವ ಜಪಿಸುವರಾಗಿ ಪ್ರೇಮದಿ ಕುಣಿದಾಡುವರಾಗಿ ಭಿಕ್ಷಕರಾಗಿ ರಾಗಿ ತಂದೀರ Okay, before we do the last verse, we do a vocal exercise for the betterment of the word's pronunciation. You will know why. ವಿಠಲನ ಸೇವಿಪರಾಗಿ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲನ ಸೇವಿಪರಾಗಿ Louder. Come on, smile. Last three times. Come on, louder, faster. One last time.
वाह, खुद के गाने में ज्यादा ताली है ना. Okay, we'll do one song which I was told to write last week about digital. and I asked a lyricist friend of mine to write. His name is Sujit, so he wrote something, and then we had fun writing. So all those who understand Kannada, you will understand. All those who do not understand, just sing digital. Wherever there is digital to be sung, please sing. Okay. And there is one chorus part which is like a fun twist to the word, which also you can sing. So the chorus part is digital, tal, digital, 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 tal. Not bad, no? Tally ho gaye sab. ಹೇಳುವೆ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಕಥೆ ಆಗಿದೆ ಈಗದು ವ್ಯಥೆ ಹೇಳುವೆ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಕಥೆ ಆಗಿದೆ ಈಗದು ವ್ಯಥೆ ಮನುಜರ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಅಂತರ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಲು ಬಂದಿದೆ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ 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 ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್. Okay, in this I sing the first part, then you end with the digital, which is Tarkari tagondre digital. Yeah, Tarkari tagondre. You have to sing immediately. Don't miss the beat. Tarkari tagondre. Classroom kuda. Ticket galella. Entertainment ella. Not bad. ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಸುಳ್ಳು ಸುದ್ದಿಗಳು ಪೂರಾ ಫುಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ 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 ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್. Are you understanding anything? No? It's okay. Have fun. Games ಈಗ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್. ಗೇಮ್ಸ್ ಈಗ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಮತ್ತು ಡೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಕೂಡ. ದಟ್ ಸಡನ್ಲಿ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಲೆಫ್ಟ್ ಸ್ವೈಪ್ ಸಾರಿ ರೈಟ್. ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಕೂಗ ಆಗಿ ಬಿಡುವುದು ಫೇಟಲ್ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಟಲ್ ಟಲ್ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಟಲ್ 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 ಟಲ್. ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಬೇಡ ಆಟವು ಬೇಡ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಸಾಕು ನೋಡ. ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಬೇಡ ಆಟವು ಬೇಡ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಸಾಕು ನೋಡ. ಈಟಿಂಗ್ ಇರಲಿ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಇರಲಿ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬೇಡ. ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾಮಿಂಗು ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ಲು ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾಮಿಂಗು ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ಲು ಸ್ಪ್ಯಾಮಿಂಗು ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ಲು ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾಮಿಂಗು ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ಲು ನಡುವೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕರೆ ಮೆಂಟಲ್ಲು ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ 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 ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್. Okay, last verse. Fake news ಕೂಡ fake news ಕೂಡ ಕಟ್ಟುಕತೆಗಳು ಸುಳ್ಳು ಸುದ್ದಿಗಳು ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಬೈಟ್ಗಳು. ಫೇಕ್ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಕಟ್ಟುಕತೆಗಳು ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಸುಳ್ಳು ಸುದ್ದಿಗಳು ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್
Big fight with digital. Appiya Marday, Mota hope very careful. Digital.
Okay. Madam Show, I think. Okay, thank you very much. My name is Vasu Dikshit, and my Insta handle is Dikshit Vasu. Please do follow and make me famous. Also, more followers means more shows, and that's how I live my life. So the ways of the business. Thank you very much, and amazing work that you guys are all put up. Thanks to Vishwanath for getting in touch with me, and then yeah, things kept rolling. And Rajan, thank you for making me sing and compose this song. I hope you like it. Obviously, you will get. Sorry. Yes, artists like these kind of forces. May the force be with you. And yeah, that's it. Thank you. Good night. Take care.
Thank you, Asu. आज की महफिल में चार चांद लगाने के लिए आपका शुक्रिया. I would like to ask Osama sir to please come on the stage and say the final thank you. You don't want me to sing. Not after this.
So thank you very much. We have waited very long for the dinner. Let's go and eat. Thank you.